is Brannon House Live. Whether the issue is law, science, economics, history, family, social issues, education, religion, government, or national security, Brannon brings the issues of the day into clear focus through the lens of a Judeo-Christian worldview. And now, here is your host, Brannon House.
And good evening. Welcome to the broadcast on this March 27th, 2025. And tonight we're going to talk about many things. One of them is, have you noticed all the people stripping off their clothes and running through the airport? I'm not making it up. There is a rather large collection of people doing just that. They're having manic meltdowns in the airport, stripping off their clothes. We'll scramble that for you, so don't worry. And if it's not in the airport, they're doing it on airplanes. Psychotic episodes. Why are we seeing such a drastic increase in manic and psychotic episodes? Tonight, we'll be joined by Dr. Peter Breggin, renowned psychiatrist and New York Times best-selling author. Take a look at this picture right here. Here is our Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. He has a new tattoo. Some on the left and the Islamist, the media, the propaganda arm of the deep state, they're going nuts. What does that mean? Does it basically mean infidel? Kafir? Infidel? Let's talk to Usama Dakdak, a guy that speaks Arabic, and Shahram Hadian about that tonight, because people on the left are going nuts. How about also this? We have another article I want to show you, and that is coming out of the Rare Foundation. I talked about it on radio today. We got a huge response, including phone calls from people from Texas and even text and emails from people in Texas thanking us. Rare Foundation, Amy Meek over there doing great work. Tablighi Jamaat, known as Al-Qaeda's recruitment network, establishes U.S. headquarters in Garland, Texas. What does that mean? Well, we're going to play a video tonight where one Islamic dude keeps bragging. This is the North American headquarters of the Tablighi Jamaat. Very excited. Who is that group? What's their goal? What's their objective? And my friends, I'm afraid to tell you, if between this and Yasser Qadhi's epic, Texas, you're being taken over. You are being taken over. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to get educated? Learn about Islam, the Quran, the Hadiths? Are you going to learn about this worldview, one of the 6 dominant worldviews of the world, Islam? You got to. Because if they can take down Texas and my state of Tennessee, the country's gone. If the men and the people and women of Tennessee and Texas can't stand up and stop this Sharia, Islamic law, by educating their elected officials and their neighbors and friends, then where will it happen? New York? I doubt it. California? Doubt it. So there you go. What else are we going to talk about tonight? Let's talk about, how about we talk about one other topic, and that is with Claire Lopez. Let's talk about Turkey. Let's talk a little bit about that group, by the way. I just mentioned the Tablighi Jamaat group. She knows a lot about that. She's been writing about that, talking about that for years. But let's talk about Turkey. Turkey, that's been in the news this week with people protesting in the street. Many of them are tired of the president of Turkey, Erdogan, because of what he's doing, what he's done to Turkey, arresting his political opponent for a little while. How about Turkey in America? The funding, Qatar, Turkey, funding Islamic groups here in America. Are they funding them? Let's talk about that with Claire Lopez tonight. And then let's talk about, AI data centers. AI data centers and what they're doing to our power grid. I got a video I want to play for you tonight with Vivek Ramaswamy, who's running for governor of Ohio, warning about these data centers, which he says, look, they're great. They provide jobs. Everything's, it's wonderful. But do you know what they're doing to our power grid? And he's warning about rolling blackouts as they have regularly in California, happening now in America in places where all these data centers are going. And likely you're getting them in your state too, like we are here. So we got a lot to get to. Now, we're going to go to some long format interviews tonight, folks. I'm going to go long format interviews because there's a lot to get to. So I'm going to ask you right now to listen up and to pay attention because you know the routine. What I need you to do right now is go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors. One of our sponsors right here is Bella Grace. And I'm going to take it right here in front of you to show you. I take this every day. That's all there is to it. You really want to roll it up like toothpaste and get every bit of it. But this is loaded with collagen, cat's claw, that's an anti-inflammatory, astaxanthin, that's massive antioxidants. It crosses the brain-blood barrier. There are over 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace alone. Consider going to melissahousebg.com, melissahousebg.com. Find out about those 80 clinical trials right now. There they are. Now, not only can you get the Bella Grace that I love, Melissa loves the Bella Grace skincare. She's crazy about that. And then there's the Bella Trim. Melissa and Logan are on this, and this greatly increases your, you cannot have my Bella Grace, sweetheart. I'm sorry. That's for me alone. Then the Bella Trim, that is great for your cardiac health as well. Lowering your bad cholesterol, bringing up your good cholesterol. You've got, what else does it do? Regulates your blood glucose levels. What are you doing under there, Dolly? Optimizing your insulin. Lowers your inflammation. Just good for overall cardiac health. Okay? So that's all natural. The restorative sleep, Melissa takes 2 of those a night, helps her stay asleep. Okay? So a lot of great products at melissahousebg.com, melissahousebg.com. Back to our sponsors. Hey, don't forget about Worldview Gold. Worldview Gold right here, folks. This is a brand new website. It's still our partners, Swiss America, but we decided to make our own website. Thank you, Jill. Click more information, fill it out, and you can get a free, no obligation packet of information on precious metals, how to diversify your portfolio, and even how to put gold into your IRA. Worldviewgold.com. You'll also find them at worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Worldviewtube.com/sponsors. You know, I swish with this every day. It's called Numi, but what it contains is glutathione, and it detoxes your cells. In fact, some studies show that glutathione may help remove mercury from your brain to help prevent things like Alzheimer's and dementia. So I take my glutathione, which is my Swish for life. I take my Bella Grace, melissahousebg.com. I take my Gatatana. These are the 3 things I do each and every day. Make sure you're tuned in to this as well. All right, let's go back to our sponsors. I mentioned the Gatatana. There it is. melissahousegpa.com is the website, or you'll find the link there at worldviewtube.com/sponsors. And I give half a scoop every day to Dolly on her food, because it's great for pets, bringing them antioxidants to fight those free radicals. And there's the cat that had the tumor, got on the Gatatana, gone. Kind of like the man that started all this when he was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he started eating the phytoplankton just out of his tanks. He was raising it for feeding his shellfish and whatnot. Well, he lived another 10 years. When they did a biopsy, all 11 of them came back benign. I'm not making claims about the product. I'm telling you what happened when the guy ate the phytoplankton. That ended up leading to Global Plankton Alliance and Dave Hunter. So I urge you to check it out. melissahousegpa.com, melissahousegpa.com. And then, of course, the Worldview Healthcare. That's the wellness company where you can get your ivermectin, your amoxicillin, your emergency medical kits, your supplements, and you can join their premier program where you get free prescriptions for $49.99 a month, or free prescriptions and free supplements for $99 a month. You can check out their health plans. All of it at, we have a lower third for that, guys. All of it at worldviewhealthcare.com or worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Get you to that page, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. So we've put them all there, easy for you to find, and support these groups, please. Okay, Worldview Coffee. That's 1775 coffee that has not been sprayed, folks. That's not been sprayed with pesticides, okay? So check all this out. And of course, do not forget about one of the most powerful ways you can support us, worldviewfoundation.com, worldviewfoundation.com, that, helps us push out free programming like you're getting right now, and even put it back up on demand later, like we'll do tomorrow morning. Worldviewfoundation.com, which helps us do the long format interviews that we're going to do right now. Joining me now is Usama Dakdok and Shahram Hadian. Gentlemen, welcome to the broadcast. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Brandon. It's always good to be with you.
All right, let's get right to it. Hey, Shahram. Here we go. Alert, Texas. Epic City's Sharia compound can be stopped. Here's the blueprint to shut it down. We'll get into that. Here's the other one. Texas under siege. Tablighi Jamaat, known as Al-Qaeda's recruitment network, establishes U.S. headquarters in Garland, Texas. Wow. You think they just happened to pick Garland, Texas? How many of you remember what happened in Garland, Texas? My friend Robert Spencer, my friend Pamela Galla, doing an event there. And two ISIS guys traveled from Arizona to Garland, Texas to kill him. The FBI knew all about it. An FBI guy was reportedly embedded with them and texted the terrorists, tear up Texas. Thankfully, they had their own security guy. He took them out in the parking lot. Now, we are getting a lot of text. We're getting a lot of emails. And I even received a text today from the mayor of Richland, Texas. He says he is being misquoted about this mosque thing. And he wants to come on and set the record straight. He's willing to come on my broadcast. So there is a guy running for mayor, I think, in Richardson, Texas, that is a Muslim dude running for mayor. Are you guys following that? Either one of you?
Well, the Muslims will continue to run for whatever office they can to get to, as long as there are enough American useful idiots who will vote for them with the help of the population of the Muslims.
Well, somebody looked that up in the control room. I'll look too. Muslim man running for mayor in Richardson, Texas. We'll look that up, because that's what I'm being told today by people on the ground. And the dear lady called into my radio show today. Also called into my radio show today. Yep, here it is.
Looks
here
like
we go.
Amir Omar.
Yes, sir. You and I found it at the same time. Amir
Right
Amir for mayor. There you go.
Amir for mayor.
Amir for mayor. All right. Well, let's get into this, because everybody knows who follows this show, Usama was born and raised in Egypt. Never was a Muslim. Never a Muslim, by the way. Never a Muslim. His daddy planted churches. That's Usama. Shahram, he was born in Iran. He was a Muslim. His daddy, though, didn't want to live under Sharia, got his family out of Iran, came to America. Now, I want to go to this article at the Rare Foundation that I just showed. Here we go. This is known as Al-Qaeda's recruitment network, okay? And this is being built in Texas. So here's what I'm telling you, folks. They're trying to take down Texas and Tennessee. And if they take down Tennessee and Texas, kiss the rest of the country goodbye. Because if they can do it here, they can do it anywhere. Now, I want to play this video that this guy built. I think, I tell you what, I'm not going to play that, because then they want me to sit through all their stupid commercials. So we're going to bypass their dumb commercials, and we're going to go right over to X, where I can watch the video without the commercials. I played this on radio today, and I want you guys to see it, because you're saying, oh, you're making this up. This is a guy, a Muslim dude, who's going to brag about this mosque and tell you over and over that it is now the national headquarters for this group. Listen and watch, please.
We just made it here at Masjid Yasin. The parking lot is packed. Obviously, they prayed 20 Tarawih. I'm pretty late though, but still, the masjid is still, everybody's still here. I want to show you something real quick. We got Ali, all the way from New York, that came here to pray. Subhanallah. Look at this. We got the Shabab playing basketball man, all the time. Should be praying Tarawih in there. Here's the masjid is right here. Subhanallah. We made it to Masjid Yasin. A lot of people have told me that this is is the headquarters of the Tablighi Jamaat in North America, where all the big decisions happen, where who has to go where. So this is one of the most organized Islamic organizations in the world.
All right, let's stop right there. One of the most organized Islamic organizations in the world. We're going to get back to the video. Hey, Shahram Hadian, tell me about this group.
Well, let's take a step back. Let's talk about our friend Phil Haney. Brandon.
Yep.
This is the group that Phil Haney was an expert on. This is the group, the Dio Bondi. Do we remember San Bernardino?
Yep.
Do we remember the couple that went and killed, if I remember right, it was 13 people in San Bernardino. They were here on, the wife was here on a visitor visa, some sort of a student visa from being married. And they killed 13 people minimum in San Bernardino. The Dio Bondi movement, which was founded, even according to their own article, they're telling you the backdrop, about 100 years old. But this is one of the Islamic offshoots that our friend, there you go, 14 people, I apologize. Our friend Phil Haney was the expert on. When he was in Department of Homeland Security, he had all of the information on the Dio Bondi movement and on this very Islamic jihadist group, Tablighi Jamaat Tablighi. And this is a fundamentalist Islamic group focused on establishing Islam as a beachhead in America. And Phil had all the information, and I believe it is one of the reasons why they killed him, because of what he was going to expose with the infiltration of Islamic groups like this and their influence on American politics. So I'm not surprised that this is in Texas. I'm not surprised that these guys are bragging about taking over Texas and setting up their beachhead. And how ironic, as you said earlier, that of all the places they want to do this is in Garland, when Pamela Geller had her drawing the Muhammad cartoon festival there, where, remember, they also had Gert Wilders in that event. They had brought over all those people. And as you said, the two Muslims that had driven from Arizona to shoot up the place. And if I remember right, Brandon, there's still a lawsuit against the FBI. Pamela Geller is still, that has not been settled, that she is trying to get to the bottom of, did the FBI order, basically turn a blind eye, and was going to allow that event to be shot up, was going to allow people to die in Garland, Texas. So that's who we're dealing with. This is not some milquetoast Islamic group. This is a fundamentalist jihadist, quote, terrorist organization that is bent on overtaking America. And now they have their beachfront in Texas. So this is the Alamo. You said earlier to me, this is the Alamo, except with the Islamic Alamo. That's what I'm going to call this now. This is the Islamic Alamo moment for America versus Islam, and Texas is the battlefront of it.
Yep, it sure is. Let me go back to, if we get a response to Usama, let's go back to this video. Listen how many times, by the way, he brags about this being the headquarters for this, what is some say is a Al-Qaeda type group.
Beautiful masjid here. Look at this. Being the headquarters of the Tablighi Jamaat in all of North America, it is an absolutely beautiful masjid. On top of that, your children can become alims here. Yes, that's right, a full-time scholar. So they do provide a full-time alamiya course for girls and boys, which is absolutely amazing. It's maktab, after school. There's also a lot of resources for children to become very connected to the deen. So to be part of the alamiya school, you have to go and apply. But the thing is, it's from ages 10 and up. Begins from 7:30 in the morning all the way till 1:45. Your children can also become hufaz here, full-time hifz school, which is not possible in most places. So full-time hifz school right here in Masjid Yasin, and part-time as well. Believe it or not, they also have lower elementary school, which is from the ages of 3 to 8, from the hours of 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. For more details, you can always check out their website, and you can apply, you can call directly to them. For a lot of people who want to be part of that Tablighi Jamaat environment. This is amazing that you have a city where you have everything available. They do have a huge parking lot. They got basketball and soccer in the parking lot. It's a huge community, tight knit, and also a lot of people from all over the nation are coming. They recently designated Masjid Yasin as the headquarters of the Tablighi Jamaat, which makes sense because Texas is the center of the Islamic initiatives all over America. So if you want to be a part of this.
Wow. Usama, please. Slow and clear so nobody misses anything. Usama gets revved up and then I get where I can't understand him either.
I'll do my best to be slow. First of all, I'm in 100% agreement with what you said and what Sharam said. But I will take it from another angle, which maybe sound like disagreement, because my problem is not for Muslims to open a big mosque or a biggest mosque in America. My problem, which I talked about 20 some years ago, just after September 11, it is the home mosques. These are the mosques which are just in simply a beginning at the small homes. And as I said years ago, I said they're not going to stay only worshiping together in a small homes on Fridays. They're going to grow up in number and they're going to build a mosque. And now they're building headquarter mosques all over America. This is the normal. But notice when he speaks everything in English except one word. He said that mosque will be a place for the youth to tahfiz al-Quran, memorizing the Quran. Brandon, from the beginning, I said it is unconstitutional, it is illegal in America for Muslim to build a mosque if they will teach that book in that mosque. They're going to teach the Quran. And what the Quran teaches, what the American people need to know. Because the Quran teach in their daily prayer, if they do it in a mosque, big mosque, small mosque, but obviously the bigger, the closer we get to the end, if they teach the Quran, and now the youth, the new generation in America will grow up to learn by memorization of the words of Allah in the Quran, that is the end of America. Why? Because they don't have to shout Allahu Akbar without understanding what comes after or before the shout Allahu Akbar. They know it from the Quran. Majority of the American people do not know too much about the Quran or Islam, and sadly now we're going to see not this will be even fulfilled for the Muslims, because as I shared with you and your audience many times in the past, majority of Muslims do not know the teaching of the Quran. But if they can make the younger generation in that mosque and the rest of the mosque in America to memorize the Quran, to learn the truth about Islam, now you got Islamic school, you got jihadi movement in America, and the result of it will be so severe. It will cripple America from within. If it is that mosque or some other mosque, and every mosque in America has the same goal: train and educate the Muslim to follow the Sunnah of Muhammad, the teaching of Islam, which requires him, when they have the upper hand, when they come to this position where they can win the battle, to launch jihad in America.
And so we're going to become just like Europe. So if you're watching what's happening in Europe and you say, oh, I'd love for that to come here to America, well, just hang on, because if enough people continue to sit on the sidelines, it's going to happen. Now, in the last 24 hours, where I've gotten more vocal on radio and our 74 Christian stations and on my show here, our phones are lighting up with local people from Texas. Several calls today during the show from Texas. I think we might need to go and do a rally in Texas. So we'll look at maybe trying to organize something and invite. In fact, I'm already in communication with a couple state senators. One of the state senators just called my phone while we're on the air here, but I can't take the call. So I am in connection with 2 state senators in Texas on this issue as well. Now, here is a tweet by Governor Greg Abbott. He says, 20 hours ago, this is the tip of the iceberg. We're uncovering legal violations by Epic City that go far beyond what people realize. The proposed community will never see the light of day. More to come. And then I guess he tweeted on March 26th, the Texas Funeral Service Commission sent a cease and desist letter to the Epic compound. They are knowingly breaking state law in many ways, including by operating a funeral home without a license. This is a crime, and it will not be tolerated. Now, here's the question. Greg Abbott, well, let's give the man a chance, but he doesn't impress me as a real strong leader. He seems a little too World Economic Forum connected to me, But let's pray that he surprises us. What say you, Shahram?
Well, Brandon, I guess I'm not as optimistic with. Look, I have fought this battle. In fact, right now, last week I was on the phone with some members of the city council up in Minnesota that they're fighting a community up there very similar to Epic City and similar to what's going on in Texas. And they're struggling right now to know how to fight this. The funeral aspect of this, the cemetery aspect of this is usually the way that they get their foot in the door. I fought this in Kuna, Idaho, east of Boise. We're seeing this up in Minnesota, where a friend of mine who's a state legislator sent me a proposal that the Muslims have for what they call a green cemetery, where they want to, quote, have an environmental cemetery, which doesn't make any sense for the Muslims. I said green is their color. That's why they're using the term green. And now we have this, what you just showed on air. The problem is going back to what Usama said. If they're going to fight this, they're going around the edges, right? Well, let's fight them on zoning. Let's fight them on the funeral. Let's fight them on noise ordinances. Let's fight them whatever. They're not going to the heart of the matter. The heart of the matter is what Usama said. The problem is that until we define what is religion in this nation, what our founders envisioned as religion, until we define that Islam cannot exist in this nation in any political sense. It cannot exist in the mosque. It cannot exist in government. We cannot have these Muslims who are running for office like what you covered on the program a couple of weeks ago with Patterson, New Jersey, and their mayor there that declared Patterson to be the capital of Palestine. This is what is happening across America. And to their own words, they're saying Texas is the beachfront. So I would love to see Greg Abbott. I would love to see Attorney General Ken Paxton go after them. But if you're going to go after them with pussyfooting around we want to talk about the funeral laws and whatever, and not go to the heart of the matter, that Sharia, Islamic law, is absolutely antithetical to the United States Constitution, to the First Amendment and any other amendment, then I see this battle simply, you're just pushing it down the line, and we're not really going to have any headways in pushing them back.
Let's look at what Ken Paxton's going to do. Ken Paxton put this letter out March 25th, 2025. Attorney General Ken Paxton issued a civil investigative demand to Community Capital Partners, LP, as part of an ongoing investigation into the CCP's real estate development, Epic City. The development near Josephine, Texas, is affiliated with the East Plano Islamic Center. CCP is a corporate entity that was established by Epic. Additionally, promotional materials advertised by Epic have explicitly stated that not only was CCP created by Epic, but that Epic is the only beneficiary of profits from Epic City. The CID aims to acquire material relevant to an investigation regarding potential violations of Texas consumer protection laws. Under my watch, there will be zero tolerance for any person or entity that breaks Texas law, said Attorney General Paxton. My office has opened an ongoing investigation into Epic City, which has raised a number of concerns, and this CID will help ensure that any potential violation of state law is uncovered, end quote. Usama, your response.
Well, believe it or not, Brennan, I have not even shared with you where I am. I'm right now in Washington, D.C. I was expecting to get a phone call the last 3 days to meet with some new office here in Washington, in the White House, as a matter of fact. It's a faith group. But somehow it did not work out, which is okay. Now we are in communication with Senator Cruz and the other congressmen in Texas who are working hard to get something done. And I will be leaving here tonight to head back to Missouri. Hopefully next week I will be able to get in Texas and meet with them if they will meet with me there. The problem with our governor in Texas and the rest of the politicians in America is Hosea 4:6. That is exactly the problem we have in America. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And if they will continue to reject the knowledge which we can offer them, that is to educate them about the savage cult of Islam, for sure, without any doubt, America will become the first Islamic State in the world. Before Egypt will practice Sharia, Islamic law, America will. No joke, no kidding about it. So you cannot fix that problem by putting any excuse you want to put there about why you cannot build that mosque. Years ago, they used to say, well, we do not know where the money is coming from, or there must be some tie between that people and that. You're talking about American-born citizen. They just happen to be Muslim. They have the right to build their community. They have the right to build their school. I mean, you got your Christian school, don't you? They have the right to build their mosque. You got your church, don't you? I mean, it's a free country. It's a free land with a freedom of religion. Unless we teach our people, governors, senators, congressmen, the president of the United States of America, unless we teach them the truth about Islam to be a savage cult, so the freedom of religion does not fit with Islam. Unless these senators and these governors and those politician people can tell me it's okay for me to move to their community and to kill them. These are the governors and the senators and their sons, and to rape their wives and their daughters. If they say that's okay, that's acceptable with the laws of the United States of America, then we can practice Islam. Then we can build a mosque. If that's not okay, I'm talking about killing the American people, raping their wives and their daughters, establish Sharia in America. If that's not okay, then we have to stop every mosque in America. Not that mosque and this mosque, that Islamic center and that school. I'm talking about it is unconstitutional for 20 plus years. You heard me, Brennan. Sharam heard me before. It is unconstitutional. It is illegal for Muslims to open a mosque or a school in America. Why are we fighting them overseas for the ideologies they believe in all these years if we allow them to practice and teach the same teaching here in America?
Well, that's a great point. Why are we supporting the clean out of Gaza, going to take over Gaza and develop it while we have the same ideology grabbing root here in the U.S.? That's a very good point.
Exactly.
All right. Now, I want to go to a quick little monologue that I did today off the cuff at the end of my 1 o'clock radio TV hour. It was completely off the cuff, but the boys in the control room loved it. Apparently, they're pushing it all over social media, and they felt like you ought to hear it tonight before we go to our next guest. And a topic I also want to discuss real quick in a minute, and that is a new tattoo by Pete Hegseth. Maybe you two boys want to research that real quick while I play this video, because the media is going nuts over his new tattoo. Okay, but here's my closing monologue from today and my warning to the men of Texas. Play it. Now, we're about to find out if some of you Southern boys down there are full of hot air. Because you guys all wave your flags, don't tread on me, and you're spitting tobacco and fishing and hunting, doing all them big things down there. How tough you are. We're about to find out how tough some of you Southern boys down there are. Or is that all fake? Are you just too fat and overweight, watching football, watching other fat men push each other over on painted grass? Some of the dumbest people on the planet. You sit there and watch them by the hour. How do I know they're dumb? Not all of them. I know a few former NFL guys that still got their money. But most of them are dumb as a box of rocks. You can't beat your head against a wall like that over and over and think you're going to end up coming out bright. We also know they're stupid because within 3 years, they don't got their money anymore. That's what it stands for. NFL, not for long. These are stupid people by and large. And yet, other stupid Americans sit on the couch and get fat and lazy and soft, watching other fat men push each other over on painted grass. But they talk big. Don't tread on me. So here's the chance for you boys down in Texas to put up or shut up. And what do you need to do? You need to start reading and learning about Islam, what's in the Quran, who these groups are, these networks, who's Yasser Qadi, who are these people? You need to start running for office, your local government. Maybe you'll lose some weight while you're out there walking around knocking on doors instead of feeding your face with Doritos, sitting on the couch watching other fat guys play football. Maybe get up off the chair on the bass boat, walk, knock, door to door and run. And stand up against to take over your country. Otherwise, we're going to find out a bunch of guys in Texas are full of hot air. Time will soon tell. Take care. And that was the commentary today.
I love it. I love it.
That was all off the cuff. That was not planned. It just happened.
The Lord can speak through your heart, man. You don't have to read it from a piece of paper. Remind me, years ago, I spoke in Texas, and my presentation was about Sharia, revealing the truth about Sharia, Islamic law. And I remember I was in Dallas, I believe. A guy came to me and he said, Muslims will never practice Sharia in America. And I say, why is that? He actually opened his jacket like that. I'm not kidding. He had 45 here and 45 here. He got 2 guns, Brandon. And I said, oh, you think you're going to stop it with a gun? He said, yes. And I'm not kidding you. I'm going to tell you the truth. God's my witness, exactly what happened. I said, show me your wallet. And he said, why? I said, I want to see your wallet. And I have no idea why I was saying that to him. He brought his wallet out, and I said, show me the credit cards you have in your wallet. The third card, Brandon, I believe the third or the fourth, it was Citibank card, Visa Citibank. I said, is this your card? He said, yes. I said, how long you been using that card? He said, well, 10 years or so. I said, you already are helping the Muslim through Sharia finance by using this card. Every time you run this card to buy something, 2.5% of the profit of that something you gave to the Muslim Brotherhood. Yes, Al-Qaradawi is getting out of you enough money. Just keep using that card. And you tell me, Muslims will not practice Sharia in America. You're already supporting Sharia finance in America by using Visa banks, Visa Bank. I mean, it is unbelievable, the level of ignorance. And I like what you said in the end, because if Muslims will hear the first half of what you said, Brandon, they will think, oh, here we go, Brandon. He want to start violence. He wants the people of Texas to start shooting and killing Muslims. No, 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 no. We want the Muslims and the people of Texas to educate themselves, to learn the truth about Islam, because it's very simple. I don't have to teach hate. I don't have to teach the people of America to stand up with guns and with fists to the Muslims. All I want to do is, as American people, A, learn their constitution, B, learn Islam. Conclusion, C, Islam is unconstitutional to be practiced
well,
in
and that's
America.
exactly, and that's what you heard me saying was, what do you need to do? You need to learn about Islam. You need to distribute the information. You need to run for office. No, we don't want violence. We want people to become educated.
And I have to say that, very important. I never heard you, and I never heard Sharam, and I will never say to burn that book. We don't burn the Quran. We educate the Muslims by reading the Quran. The greatest insult you can do to Islam, the destruction of Islam in America, will not be but by reading the Quran. Not burn it, but reading it.
Before we go to the Pete Hegseth tattoo, go ahead, Usama.
Sorry, real quick. That's what isn't that what Thomas Jefferson did? Isn't that how our country fought initially when we were fighting the Barbary Wars against the Barbary pirates who were exacting tribute from us, who were exacting what was called jizya back then? The Barbary Wars, the Battle Hymn of the Republic, and the whole aspect of the leathernecks. They read the Quran. It was only once they read the Quran that they understood that this is incompatible, that we can never coexist, that we can never, live side by side like with the Muslims in Gaza. There's never that solution. It will not exist. Either we succumb to them or they succumb to us. And that's why he ordered the Marines to go and fight. And he said, no more tribute. Not one more dime to tribute. So this is how our country at the beginning was founded. And here we are, Brandon, at our 250th anniversary soon, next year. And we are right now about to decide, and all those Southern boys that you just said in Texas are about to decide if America will exist or if America is going to succumb to the enemy that we defeated once before and we must defeat again. And just to echo what you guys said, we're not talking about violence. We're not talking about taking up guns. We're talking about we have to understand the ideology of the enemy and know so that we're not ignorant and we're not perishing for a lack of knowledge. And I want to ask Usama the question you were asking about Pete Hegseth's tattoo. Usama, the word kufra in Arabic, can you explain that it doesn't just mean infidel?
Well, it is a very disgraceful way to say somebody does not believe. Kafir, it is disgraceful. Kafir, it's belittling the people. Kafir is to insult the people. That's exactly what the word is about. You can't say in Islam, in Arabic, you can say unbeliever, غير mu'min. No, Muhammad did not use that word. He want to use the word kafir as a way to disgrace, is to humiliate those who does not submit to Islam.
So, so Pete is saying, so the Daily Mail saying it means disbeliever or infidel, and I guess the media are reporting that Muslims are taking this on the arm of the Secretary of Defense as an insult, that he's anti-Islam, he's an Islamophobic, and he's saying, I am a disbeliever, I am a proud infidel. Is that what it means, Usama?
In the Quran, we never use the word disbeliever. We read the word kafir. غير mu'min, not found once in the Quran, but the word kafir, it's all over the Quran. And I know some Muslims deny it and they say the word kafir was never mentioned in the Quran. I said, you kidding me? Are you kidding me? It is true. Every Christian is an infidel. 572, 573, which teach if you believe that Jesus Christ, son of the Virgin Mary, is God, or if you believe in Trinity, you are an infidel. And worse than that, Quran 47:4 teaches the Muslims, when you meet the infidels, when you meet the Christians, so strike the necks until you have made a great slaughter amongst them. We do not believe to kill Muslims for being Muslims or kill non-Christians for being non-Christians, but Muslims believe and practice such savage teachings.
So is that's this is in Arabic, correct? Is that what do you read? What do you read there? What's that say?
Kafir, mean infidel. That's his name. That's who he is. He's an infidel.
So let's just. What is he?
And he must be beheaded, Brandon. You must beheaded that man for being an infidel.
So
I will take this as a badge of honor. I don't have any tattooed. If I'll ever put tattooed, Brandon, trust me, that is the one which I'm gonna put on my body.
Okay, so now you're getting where I want to go. So you agree with this tattoo, Usama? You're saying if you were to have a tattoo, this is the one you would take. So this is basically.
I don't have, but you see. All I have is here in my hand here, the cross. But if I will have a big tattoo, it will be much bigger than the cross. It will be the word kafir, infidel.
Okay, so this would be like us taking the name and saying, well, I'm nothing but a deplorable. I'm a deplorable. So you take the name that Hillary gave us and you wear it proudly. Yeah, I'm a deplorable. Sure. This what he's doing, Sharam? He's taking it and saying, this is who I am. Go ahead.
This is who I am. This is who I am. And the fact that, as Usama said, all throughout the Quran, particularly the abrogated verses, including in Surah chapter 9, when Muslims are commanded to wage jihad, fight, warfare against the kafir, against the kafir. And so to me, in my study, the better interpretation is the word that you're saying you're filthy. So we would use the term in the Bible that someone who's an unbeliever is unclean. Well, this is like 10 times, 100 times worse that, because you're saying you're filth. And so if the Secretary of Defense is put this tattoo on saying, go ahead, I am an unbeliever, I am unclean, I am an infidel, then that's exactly the type of attitude we must all have to say, we are basically your enemy, Muslims. We are. What are you going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? If we stand together, unified, because as Usama said earlier, and I've made this argument over and over again, the number one reason that Islam is incompatible with the Constitution is because of the First Amendment. The fact that they used the First Amendment, Brandon, to be able to protect Islam is the absolute opposite of where we need to be. Because we need to be able to say to them, if you wage physical war against unbelievers and against those like me who have left Islam and must be killed, then you cannot be protected under the First Amendment. As Usama said, I have never one time in any of my sermons ever said, hey, go kill Muslims because they're unbelievers. Never once would that come out of my mouth, because that's not according to the Holy Spirit. And yet Muslims, every Friday, they are giving sermons. These imams are giving sermons across this nation calling for death to America, death to Jews, death to the kafir, death to unbelievers. And we sit here and we twiddle our thumbs and we get fat, like you said, because we got our barbecues and we got our football games and we're all hunky-dory thinking everything's going to be okay. We are being overrun and take over. And as I said, we're coming up on our 250th anniversary. Will we survive or not? Right now is the time. And I think the battle, I think what you're going to do, hopefully in Texas, Brandon, is absolutely a must. This is the Alamo of our day right now. And we got to be like Pete Hegseth. I hope this means that he understands the threat doctrine of the enemy. I really hope that's what it means.
Wow. TILministry.com, TILministry.com for Sharam. Usama, one last comment.
132 times Allah mentions the word kafir in the Quran. 132 times, not just few times by mistakes. It is the doctrine of Islam, which, by the way, ended by beheading the infidels like you and I.
TheStraightWay.org is for Usama, TheStraightWay.org. And where else are you going to get this, folks? Where else? Not many networks will touch this. I highly doubt tonight. I would think tonight your shows should be, you guys should be booked up. People wanting to know, what is this tattoo with the Secretary of Defense? Have any of the big networks call you? Have any one of them called you about what's going on in Texas? Because our phones are lighting up. We got phone calls from 2 people in Texas. We received a text message today from the mayor of Richardson, Texas, saying he's being misquoted. He wants to come on and clarify. I think this is a big story. You guys booked on any other? Newsmax got you booked tonight? No? Fox News? Nope. None got you booked?
Nope.
Shocker. Thank you, boys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Brandon.
And if you appreciate what we're doing, we need your support. We're about to go to Claire Lopez, former CIA operations officer, on this. She's been warning about this. She's been warning about this group for years from this news desk right here. But folks, we need your support. WorldviewFoundation.com, WorldviewFoundation.com. You want to go there, you'll also find our mailing address, WorldviewFoundation.com. There it is. There's our mailing address. Because we are listener supported. You can go to worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Support some of our sponsors. None of those groups pay us unless you buy something. And these are products we agree with and we use ourselves. The other way is worldviewfoundation.com. We can put all of this behind a paywall, but we don't. The player's out there, right out in the open for everybody. And every time somebody watches, the meter's running and we pay that bill. Thousands of dollars a month in bandwidth and storage of those files for people to watch. Thousands of dollars. Then you add in all the other bills, we got to bring in about 40 grand a month. And that does not include my salary. And I have to make a living too, right? I got bills. My family has bills. My family has to eat. That 40 grand is just my hard cost of operating the network. The guys in the control room and all the expenses that go with it. All the servers. All the IT guy. Our IT bill is about 10 grand a month. Just to keep all of it running and free from the attacks. And doing new development. To give you free programming and for more platforms. Roku channel, iOS app, Android app. We've got an Amazon Fire channel. We have an Apple TV channel coming soon. And we push all those apps out for free. And the content is free. And I just don't understand why some of you that can financially support us don't. I don't. I really don't. It's beyond me. But I know some of you that watch day in, day out, and you never give us a dime. I know who some of you are. You never give a dime. And I know you can afford to. I don't know. I have no idea why you do that. Those of you who cannot afford, I get it. That's one reason why we make it free. Because I get emails from people that are in their 70s and 80s that are on Social Security and a fixed income. They can't. They cannot do more. I don't want them to do more. I want them to take care of themselves. I get emails and we get handwritten letters and messages from single moms. They can't afford to help us. We're not worried about them. That's one reason why we want to make it free. But I have lots of people that can afford to support us and they watch us nonstop, but they never do. They never do. I don't know why. But to those of you that are, thank you. Thank you to those are. And those that are not, please consider doing so now, please. WorldviewFoundation.com. You also find our mailing address there, WorldviewFoundation.com. Taxdeductible.com. Joining me now is former CIA operations officer Claire Lopez. Claire, welcome back. She's also a former Marine, by the way. Claire, welcome back to the broadcast. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, Brandon, it's so good to be with you again. Thanks for having me.
Great to have you on. This is right up your alley. This is what you were talking about. I mean, we've got videos of you going back several years talking about this group. And here's this headline. And we got phone calls today from people in Texas. We got a text today from the mayor of Richardson, Texas. The governor of Texas is talking about it. The attorney general of Texas is talking about it. This group here known as Al-Qaeda's recruitment network. I don't know if you had the chance to watch the video we played on the air, but you're also in this video. You're in this, embedded in this, because you've been talking about this for years. But the video that we played up here, they're actually bragging. This is now the center of this Tablighi Jamaat network in Texas. And I'm sure you had the chance to watch their promotional documentary and read this article, right?
You know, thank you for the article. That really helped bring me up to date on this group, Tablighi Jamaat. You know, way back when we worked with people like Phil Haney. Actually, when I was still at the Center for Security Policy, published a small, paperback monograph about this group. Exactly.
Yeah. So tell our audience who don't know, who is this group? What is their ideology, and why have they chosen Texas as that building in there to supposedly be the capital of their network here in America? Who are they?
Right. So what's brought this to our attention is the headquarters of this group, Tablighi Jamaat, now moved to Garland, Texas. I guess formerly they had been in Louisiana. Now in Garland, Texas. We might recall, by the way, I'm sure you do, Brandon, that Garland, Texas was the site in 2015 of the Draw a Cartoon of Muhammad contest held in Garland, Texas, where it was almost violently attacked. Pam Geller was there, Robert Spencer was there, Tom Trento and some of his guys were there. The winner, I guess, of the contest, if I remember right, Bosch Faustine, was there. He's the one you might remember drew the cartoon of Muhammad, you know, with his great big turban on his head, drawn as a bomb. In any case, that was 2015, and only through the brave, courageous, actions of the private security outside the building that had been hired by Pam Geller, Robert Spencer, was the attack stopped before anybody else besides the attackers got hurt. Yeah. So this is now Garland, Texas, right? Tablighi Jamaat is about 100 years old, just about 100-year-old group. It is a Deobandi group founded in India. Maulana Maududi, the founder, back in, I think it's 1926, if I remember right. It is a jihadist group. It is dedicated to not violent attacks. We're not talking about terrorism here. We're talking about jihad in the dawah aspect of that. And that's what they do. They try to increase the devotion, the faithfulness of Muslims themselves in their own communities, mosques, Islamic centers, and as well then to spread the message of Islam, Islamic law, that is Sharia, far and wide, and already pretty far and wide, right? They were formed in India. They're all over the world now, and they are here in the United States. And as we're saying, Garland, Texas, new headquarters. Yeah.
And we of course, covered that in our documentary that you're also in, Sabotage, which came out in 2018. Oh, yeah. And you remember we had that the FBI embedded saying tear up Texas, texting back. And I think that's still that lawsuit is still going on, as was referenced tonight. It's disturbing at many levels, but I guess down to the brass tacks. Is this group, because the headline over at Rare Foundation says that this group is tied back to Al-Qaeda. Their headline states, known as Al-Qaeda's recruitment network. Would you agree with that statement?
Well, you might think about Tablighi Jamaat as a conveyor belt. It is missionary, it's dawah, it's preaching, it's teaching, it's spreading the message of Islam and Sharia. But because then of the increased, if you might say, devotion, dedication, faithfulness of Muslims to Islam and to its jihadist aspects, the group is fertile recruitment ground, yes, for groups that actually are terrorist, meaning violence, and that includes Al-Qaeda, but others too. That's why I would call it a conveyor belt to the violent jihad.
I want to let's go real quick to an old news report, just for those who maybe are catching up on what we have known for years related to Garland, Texas. Listen to this.
Got a bold new claim concerning the terror attack in Garland last year that ended with 2 terror suspects dead.
The security guard who was wounded is now saying the FBI not only knew about the plot, but let it play out, risking hundreds of lives.
J.D. Miles live tonight in Garland with the CBS 11 exclusive. J.D.?
Doug, there's still some bullet holes in the trees here around the Caldwell Center where 2 ISIS-affiliated terrorists opened fire on Garland police and a security guard. A year and a half later, that security guard is considering a lawsuit against the FBI, which he believes allowed the attack to happen.
Well, I feel like they're not coming clean.
Bruce Joyner is talking about the FBI. The security guard was shot in the leg by Elton Simpson and Nadir Sufi. The 2 ISIS recruits drove to the Caldwell Center in May 2015 and started firing before they were killed by Garland police. Joyner claims that 3 officers told him an undercover FBI agent was following the terrorists in another vehicle.
I know that there was a third person. I know that he had his life saved by claiming he was an FBI agent.
Joyner says Garland officers had their guns pointed at the man who was wearing Middle Eastern attire and quickly taken away by federal agents.
He was detained, put in the back of a squad car, put a bag over his head, and took him away to another location.
The FBI and Garland police have refused to confirm or deny that account. But Joyner is using that info as the basis for a possible lawsuit, accusing the FBI of allowing the violent plot to go forward. You believe the FBI allowed a terrorist attack on U.S. soil. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I think that they allowed it to go too far.
That they are responsible. They do have an intentional tort on their hands.
Trent Roberts is Joyner's attorney. He says he's being stonewalled by the government about its undercover activities before the attack. We know from this FBI arrest affidavit that an undercover agent was tracking the terrorists for weeks, even sending a text urging them to, quote, tear up Texas. FBI Director James Comey has said Garland was sent a bulletin 3 hours before the attack, warning that someone could be on their way.
This thing could have been a disaster.
Joyner believes and may soon try to prove in court that the FBI could have stopped it, but chose not to.
I don't know of any undercover agent that can allow their fellow officers and citizens to be fired upon in the course of an investigation. You have to stop that before that happens.
Joyner says if it had not been for the quick thinking of Garland SWAT officers, he believes the FBI would have blood on its hands. The FBI would not respond to our questions. Joyner's attorney is asking for any potential witnesses to come forward to help support a pending lawsuit.
All right. Now, I don't know about the accuracies on that last part, because I know that Pamela Geller and Robert Spencer have told me that they hired off-duty police. Mm-hmm. So that report made it sound like the local police and everybody was so vigilant in there. Everything I was told on video, in my documentary, and on shows with Pamela and Robert is they just happened to hire people who were off-duty cops. That's who took care of it. If they hadn't hired their own security, I think that would have turned out differently that day. Like we did in Sioux Falls, remember? We hired our own security when that gunman came in from Saudi Arabia, filmed his Quran, panned the crowd. My security guys removed him, and he sat out there and made videos brandishing 5 weapons, 2 semi-automatics, and threatening us, and did 7 months in federal prison. So that video, I don't think is quite accurate, but at least it shows people that we're not making this up, are we, Claire?
No, not at all. And I would add, to provide a little more context to this, these 2 would-be assailants had driven all the way to Garland, Texas from Arizona. Okay? They were members of a Muslim Brotherhood affiliated mosque in the Phoenix, Arizona area. And they had been under surveillance. They had been under watch by the FBI all the way from there. And they drove across country, all the way across Arizona, New Mexico, into Texas, to Garland, to this draw a cartoon of Muhammad contest event. And it was during all that time, prior to departure from Arizona, on the drive all the way across country to Texas, that the FBI apparently was following, observing these 2, but not doing much else. Maybe goading them on even, as we heard, that quote, tear up Texas. So they were in direct contact with them, but not stopping them. If anything, goading them on.
Any idea, Claire, the number of terror cells in the U.S.? I mean, I know you followed federal trials where we know they're here, right?
Yeah, sure, they're here. No, I do not know any kind of a number. With the wide open border, certainly the southern border, also the northern border with Canada, over the last 4 years before President Trump took office once again, a couple months ago in January, during that time, millions, untold millions came across certainly the southern border. I'm going to say, yes, the northern border too, but we'll focus on the southern border. And we don't know who they are. We don't know where they are. We don't know what they're doing. Now, Tom Homan, our new border czar, and of course our new DHS, Department of Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, formerly the governor of South Dakota, they're doing a terrific job as fast as they can, working with the awesome, people of both ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement, and also CBP, the Customs and Border Protection units, working as fast as they can to identify and round up these people with a focus first on those deemed most threatening, most dangerous, who already are convicted criminals or have already, deportation orders from a court, from a judge, focusing on them first. But there were millions. There were millions who came across, and among them, obviously traffickers, human traffickers, drug traffickers, traffickers in women, and yes, children, of whom children they have lost track of over 300,000, who are certainly, at least some of them among them, in indentured servitude, forced labor, and of course, pornography, sex trafficking. There are also, of course, other kinds of criminals, gangs like MS-13. Just today, early this morning, in my own community where I live in Northern Virginia, the Tom Homan team with the cooperation of the governor of Glenn Youngkin of Virginia and local authorities here, took down, arrested one of the top gang leaders of MS-13, Mara Salvatrucha Trece, in the country. Identified him, arrested him early this morning in the community where I live. So they're doing the best they can, but among others, gang members, cartel members. Tren de Aragua has come to our attention kind of recently, within the last year, let's say. Violent prison gang out of Venezuela that members of that gang, encouraged by the regime down there of Nicolas Maduro, released even from prison, encouraged to come on up here, get out of Venezuela. Their crime rate is way down. To come up here across our borders and come to the United States, where that gang, Tren de Aragua, has a presence just about every state in the Union, almost. Many major cities, towns, even smaller. So again, we're saying gangs, we're saying human traffickers overall, narco traffickers, human traffickers. We're talking cartel people. We're talking jihadis.
Yes,
jihadis as well, because that border was wide open. And yeah, they're here. Never mind how many 10, 15,000 Chinese People's Liberation Army jungle tigers. We don't know what they're doing here either. So yeah, we're pretty well flooded right now, and Tom Homan is doing as quick and as professional a job with again the people of ICE and CBP and so forth as anyone has ever done. But it's a big job ahead of them.
Indeed, it is. Let me ask you about two other issues, Claire. Iran and then Turkey. I know you have followed both these. Iran first. Where do you think we're going with Iran? And again, how concerned are you with Hezbollah fighters, Iranian Hezbollah fighters here in the U.S.?
Well, I'll take the last one first. Hezbollah has been here in the United States in communities all over the country for years. And of course, with you, Brandon, some years ago, we recorded that, what was it, 10, 11 part series about Hezbollah in America. So yeah, they're here. But Iran more broadly, this is even more urgent because this is happening right now. The Iranian regime is on the verge, I mean, literally, really on the verge of deploying deliverable nuclear weapons. It's my own conclusion, my own assessment, but it's based on following the reporting out of the IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, and what we call the good ISIS, that is David Albright's group called the Institute for Science and International Security. Following those reports over the years, also the reporting from the Iranian major opposition group, the National Council of Resistance of Iran, and its member organization, the Mujahideen-e-Khalq, inside of Iran, penetrated into its nuclear weapons program. Following all of that, it is my belief that Iran has nuclear warheads, at least a small handful. And from most recent press conferences that I've attended, either by Zoom or in person, press conferences from the NCRI, whose headquarters in the United States is downtown Washington, D.C., on Pennsylvania Avenue, 2 blocks down from the White House, their reporting indicates I attended one in December of 24, the other one in January this year, 2025. Their reporting indicates that what the Iranians are doing now is fitting those warheads to the nose cones of their ballistic missiles. We know absolutely they have ballistic missiles because they've already fired them at Israel unsuccessfully, thankfully, last year in April and in October. But those were nuclear capable. They were not nuclear tipped, but they were nuclear capable. But now, at 2 ballistic missile development sites just outside of Tehran, the capital of Iran, the Iranian regime reportedly is working on the warheads. It's not an easy technological thing. You don't just screw them on like a lid on a jar. It's a difficult technological challenge. But the fact that they are working on the warheads at the ballistic missile development sites means to me it means they're in the last stage of attaching them.
So are you thinking then that obviously the satellites are picking this stuff up and intel on the ground?
Well, the internal reporting from the Mujahideen-e-Khalq are picking this up, and as well as other intelligence means, I'm certain too. But what I was going to lead to here is that in very recent, within the last few weeks, let's say, interviews by President Trump with media, in particular Fox Business News, I have heard him express more urgency than I've ever heard, more explicit urgency about Iran's progress with its nuclear weapons. Let me see if I can find it real fast. Here we go. It was in early March this year, 2025, that President Trump was speaking on Fox Business News, and he said at that time he had written a letter to the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran. I've written them a letter, he said. I hope you're going to negotiate, because if we have to go in militarily, it's going to be a terrible thing. But you can't let them have a nuclear weapon. He goes on, quote, President Trump, we're down to final strokes with Iran. We're down to the final moments. Final moments. Can't let them have a nuclear weapon. We have a situation with Iran that something's going to happen very soon. Now, what we've seen, and the news has reported, it's all over the media, is that U.S. Air assets, air forces, are converging on Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. That is certainly flying distance to Iran. We know that there are aerial refueling super tankers there. We know that there are cargo ships there. We know that there are fighter jets moving towards bases there and elsewhere in the Middle East. We know that the aircraft carrier group of the Carl Vinson is moving right now from where it had been in the Western Pacific to somewhere headed towards the Middle East. And we also know that recently U.S. Air Force fighter jets, or I should say Israeli Air Force fighter jets, have engaged in exercises with U.S. Air Force aerial refueling tankers, because that's what it's going to take. What it sounds like to me is that Israel, which of course is in the bullseye for Iran, they're the first target. They're one nuclear bomb country so small. It's existential for them. But Israel and the United States, it looks to me like they are joining forces in final preparations, and it's not against the Houthis. The Houthis are getting clobbered in Yemen as we speak, yes, but I don't think all of this is about the Houthis. So I think what President Trump said in that Fox Business interview, we're down to final moments, is what he said.
So
I think that's what we're looking at.
What does that mean, Claire, for us in America? Because I know most Americans watch that. They go, oh, well, that's over there. But we've already mentioned terrorist cells here in the U.S.
Yeah.
But you did an amazing piece years ago, that's in my documentary from 2018, on the Club K cargo missile launching system. $10 million,
Yeah.
$10 million bucks, and you can buy a cargo container that pops up with the lid and 2 silos with a nuclear tipped missile, and boom, they can be off our coast. They can be on cargo containers. Are we to believe that Israel and America can go after Iran, and we shouldn't worry that they might do anything here, or will they?
Well, I think we, the media certainly, have lost track of that reporting about the Gulf Tainer, the cargo container report that you're talking about there, Brandon. But even aside from that, there are certainly Hezbollah cells all across the United States, as well as others that may be affiliated with or reporting to Iranian officials, the Iranian regime. We've already seen, what Muslim Brotherhood, certainly, which is a close affiliate associate of the Iranian regime now for many, many years, what the Muslim Brotherhood and its front groups, like the Muslim Student Association, like the Students for Justice in Palestine, can and have been doing on our campuses, our university campuses, and in the streets too. I think we can expect more of that if when strikes against the Iranian nuclear weapons program. We're talking about not cities per se in Iran. We're talking about nuclear weapons sites like Natanz the enrichment site, like Isfahan, the conversion site, like Fardo, a nuclear facility deeply buried underground with many thousands of centrifuges spinning away to produce more. I think they're at weapons grade uranium. That's above 90% enriched. And the warnings have been coming, again, out of the IAEA, as we said, the good ISIS, and out of United States, senior intelligence as well, that Iran, they still won't admit, that Iran has warheads. Now, for some crazy convention, vocabulary convention, I mean, it's not called a weapon until the warhead is actually attached to the delivery system. And so Iran having nuclear warheads, they're not going to call that a weapon. For whatever crazy reason, this is how it is. But in any case, if and when those strikes occur against those places and maybe others that we've mentioned, there are plenty of, Iranian and or Muslim Brotherhood assets here in the United States, that will, go on the streets again, hit the streets, hit the campuses. I mean, we're already seeing what's going on the campuses even now, spring semester, which, doesn't finish until probably May or so. But I think we're ratcheting up to a point of quite possibly that those strikes could occur well before May.
And then let me ask you finally, just a wealth of information. We got to get you back on more regularly here. Another topic you've covered for so long and warned about, Turkey. And now we see the president of Turkey, I don't know how is he still a member of NATO, but we see him having more influence in Syria. We see the protests against him, people spilling in the streets. The poor people, so many of the poor people in Iran that want freedom and liberty. Many of the poor people in Turkey who want liberty and freedom. But talk to me about Turkey, because you also warned about one of Erdogan's, I guess, opposition guys that was living in Pennsylvania. I think he's now since passed away, but he was planting these schools all over the U.S. Right. So I'll go back to 2018, which is the year that, when again I was still at the Center for Security Policy, we published another monograph, a paperback. It's a good sized monograph. This one. Called Ally No More. Ally No More. It's still on Amazon. You can find it there. It's about Turkey. And in that book, we had a number, I think it might have been as many as 10 different authors. I was one of the authors, but also the editor, who contributed chapters to this book, talking about Recep Tayyip Erdogan's ambitions to revive the Ottoman Empire. As we'll recall, after World War I, it is when Turkey lost, it was on the wrong side, the losing side of World War I, that the Ottoman Empire was lost. But more to the point, the last Islamic Caliphate was abolished by the military officer named Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, who took over, maybe call it the rump state, or what was left of Turkey, the Turkey whose boundaries we know today, after World War I. Well, it was the 1924 abolition of the last Islamic Caliphate. There'd always been a caliphate after Muhammad. Well, if he ever lived, we'll just say that he did. But always had been a caliphate, sometimes even 2 or 3, and they were at odds with each other, fighting. This was the first time there was no caliphate, and it was the Turks that lost it. 4 years later, in Cairo, Egypt, is when Hassan al-Banna, student there at the time with other students, founded the Muslim Brotherhood, the Ikhwan, precisely with a mission to reestablish the caliphate. And so that is motivation that drives Turkey, drives Erdogan to this day. Yes, as you mentioned, people are in the streets in Turkey because Erdogan very recently arrested his most popular opposition political candidate, who was the mayor of Istanbul, brought thousands and thousands of Turks out into the street to protest that.
But quickly linking over to what's going on in Syria, the group that has taken over Damascus now, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, it's called, is a protege. It is a jihadi group that was armed, funded, trained, backed, supported by Erdogan, by Turkey, and in lightning fast fashion, this past December 2024, swept down from its more northern bases in what used to be called Turkey, what used to be called Syria, swept down and conquered Homs, Hama, and eventually Damascus. The leader of HTS for short, as it's called, birth name is Ahmed al-Shara. Sometimes you'll hear him go by his nom de guerre, al-Golani, that nom de guerre because his grandparents came from the Golan Heights. You see names in the Middle East with an I on the end, like al-Golani. That means somebody in the family, them or their parents, grandparents, came from that place, al-Golani. But he goes more now by his birth name, Ahmed al-Shara, and he is the head of this HTS jihadi group. You'll see him running around in a nice shirt and suit and tie, and he's, trimmed his beard quite nicely, trying to, give the impression that he's really a moderate. And except for the fact that he just issued orders that there he is in khaki green there, but we'll see him in a suit and tie even upon occasion. But he just recently issued an edict placing his rule in Damascus under Islamic law, under Sharia. So also prior, a few weeks back, his forces, which were the ones that ousted the former longtime regime of Bashar al-Assad, formerly his father Hafez al-Assad, Bashar al-Assad and family now in safe haven in Moscow in Russia, but he al-Shara ousted the Bashar al-Assad regime, which was an ethnically based group, based Alawites. They're called. Alawites are kind of they're not really Islamic. They're an offshoot, but not considered truly faithfully Islamic, but some sort of offshoot of Islam some long time past. In any case, because that was the ethnic group of Bashar al-Assad and the al-Assad family, the HTS and Ahmed al-Shara's group have slaughtered, just murdered tens of thousands of Alawites, but also Christians and Druze, which also are minority ethnic and religious groups in what used to be called Syria. Just real quick before we finish here, Syria is not really a country. We mentioned the breakup of the Ottoman Empire back after World War I in the last century. Syria was cobbled together. It was never a country before then. It was a satrap of the Ottoman Empire until it collapsed. But then the Allied victors of World War I, primarily the British and the French, were assigned mandates across the former Ottoman Empire territories of the Middle East. And they just sort of sat down and drew lines on a map, creating out of thin air new countries that never existed before. And Syria is one of those. Jordan's another. We can talk about another time. But Syria in particular, because it's made up of so many ethnic minorities, religious minorities. There are Shiites, there are Sunnis, which are the most numerous, Alawites, as we've said, Druze, Christians. And guess what? They hate each other. They were not like our founding fathers of the 13 colonies, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, etc. No, they were forced together unwillingly into a brand new country they called Syria, and they don't want to be part of it. None of them want to be part of it. And any number of Druze villages, as we've heard, have even asked the Israelis,
yes,
the Israeli government, there on the Golan Heights, the southern part of the Golan Heights, where it borders on Israel, where we've been how many times, petition to join Israel, to be under Israeli sovereignty, because they'd rather have the protection of the Israeli government than take their chances under HTS. So kind of long way of explaining what's going on there.
So quick answer on this one then. Should we worry about any of Erdogan's followers or people that have been trained here among the other ones we've been talking about tonight?
Well, here's the thing. Both Turkey and Qatar, they're allied, are the backers. Again, the backers and the supporters and the funders of Muslim Brotherhood front groups in America. So what we're seeing, again, on these college campuses, on the streets too, they are groups like the AMP, American Muslims for Palestine, founding member of the USCMO, United States Council of Muslim Organizations, Muslim Brotherhood umbrella group in America. Its campus branch is SJP, Students for Justice in Palestine. How many now? 2 or 3 lawsuits against them, the SJP, that is, or national SJP. So that those groups and others besides, are proteges of Turkey and of Qatar, both. And yes, they continue to be affiliated. Certainly on our college campuses, also on our streets, and we're going to see more of that. Yes.
And I think it is Robert Spencer and several others that we've interviewed, Alan Dershowitz, who I've interviewed numerous times. Alan has said some of these college kids that are being indoctrinated will become terrorists, and that's a great concern.
Right.
Yep.
Yes.
Here it is, folks. Follow her on X at Claire M. Lopez, at Claire M. Lopez, to follow more about what she's up to and doing. As you guys can tell, extremely knowledgeable, former CIA operations officer, former Marine as well, and sat at this desk and did about 10 or 11 one-hour series or 30-minute series on Hezbollah. It's in our vault. There you'll find it, worldviewtube.com/vault. We need to get her back on a more regular basis. I'm glad we had you on tonight. Thank you, Claire.
Thanks, Brennan. Thanks very much for having me.
Glad to have you on. It's an honor. Folks, follow her on her X account. There it is, at Claire M, as in, I don't know, Mary, but just
Marie.
There you go. All right. Marie. Claire Marie Lopez. Get that M in there so you follow the right one. There it is. Claire Lopez. Follow her, won't you? All right, guys, before we continue, our next guest, Dr. Peter Breggin. Why are people ripping their clothes off and running through the airports and airplanes? Why is there apparently an increase in people having manic meltdowns? Why? And what do you do about it? I mean, what if you have a family member or a friend? I'm not making light of it. It would be very horrific to see that happen to somebody, particularly one of your loved ones or friends or family members. What can you do if you know someone that struggles with this? Psychiatrist and best-selling New York Times author Dr. Peter Breggin is going to join us in just 1 minute. I want to take you back real quick, though. worldviewtube.com/sponsors, worldviewtube.com/sponsors. We have the big Worldview Radio Understanding the Times rally coming up in Milwaukee as the page loads. There it is. On Tuesday evening, April 15th. Tuesday evening, April 15th. We now have, between phone registration and online, 1,000 people registered. We want you there. And if you can't be there, if you're a Vault member, you're going to be a live stream it, but you're going to have to be a Vault member to live stream it. worldviewtube.com/vault. What I'd love for you to do is tell your family and friends about this that are in Wisconsin, Illinois, Minnesota, Iowa, Michigan. I mean, yeah, they can drive from Iowa. It's not that bad of a drive at all. Michigan. This will be our first Worldview rally we've done in 7 years. It's called our Worldview Radio Understand the Times rally. It's free, but you must register. You must register so we can have enough seats for everybody, okay? They're charging us $2 a chair. So you're going to have to register so we have enough chairs out, but not too many, okay? worldviewtube.com/events, worldviewtube.com/events. Let's go back over there to that sponsors page. Go ahead and join the vault, folks. 35 years. 35 years of my books, ebooks, documentaries, radio shows, TV shows, as little as $7.99 a month. Are we not? providing you with enough resources here to ask for $7.99 a month, and you get the access of 35 years of $9.99 or $7.99 if they do for a year, Logan. Yeah. And you get the access of 35 years of my books, radio shows, TV shows, all of our products there. Okay? So check it out. A lot of the series there, folks, just as relevant as the day we recorded them. Here's a great one right there. National security threat, interfaith dialogue. There's Yasser Qadi, who's building that big center down there in Texas we've been telling you about with good old useful idiot James White, hyper-Calvinist James White. Let's see now, what would these two guys have in common? One's an Islamist and one is a hyper-Calvinist. Oh, I think they have the same God, to be honest with you. That's my opinion, theologically. If James doesn't like it, he can come on here and debate me. But I think James is too much of a coward, to be honest with you. But anyway, there you go. There's a lot of stuff there that is highly, highly relevant for what's happening in our country today. I mean, just like that. This series was 2017. And it's about a character that's now making a lot of people in Texas very concerned about his epic center that he's building. Oh, yeah. And who can you blame for the fact that you have the churches of America neutered? I think you can blame James White and John MacArthur and Justin Peters and Phil Johnson of Grace to You. And you're like, whoa, wait a minute. How'd we go there? Some of you know those names. Well, you might want to watch the 5 hours and find out how they gave cover to all this back in 2017. Oh, yeah. Even sent us a letter saying, don't contact our church anymore. When we tried to say, hey, some of your guys in your ministry and church are giving cover to a guy, James White, who's having an interfaith dialogue with a Jew-hating, Holocaust-denying, Hitler-defending, jihadi-preaching imam. Oh, don't contact us anymore. Yeah. Well, they can pound that pulpit and act so courageous till it comes to reality. Yeah. Oh, well. Steve Lawson. Where was Steve? What's happened to Steve Lawson lately, huh? Anybody know? That guy haven't heard about him lately, have we now? Seems to be a theme with a lot of these guys, doesn't there? So again, I'm telling you, a lot of our stuff is more relevant than ever before. So join the vault, worldviewtube.com/vault. And then don't forget our national conference is coming up in October. We only got 350 seats, and it's 100 of them are already gone. That's at worldviewstore.com. Worldviewstore.com. We only have 350 seats for our national conference, and 100 of them are already gone. So go there, if you would, to worldviewstore.com. Check out who's going to be our speakers. Gordon Cheng, Sidney Powell, Dr. Lana, Chris Martinson, Mark Mitchell Rasmussen, Alex Newman, and all the hotels and all the information are there. I'd go ahead and book your hotels now, folks, because they have soccer tournaments and all kinds of stuff that come into town and fill things up. But 100 of the 350 seats are already gone. So get on board. Only $99. We lowered the price this year because we're saving money by moving it from that beautiful resort, which was beautiful but costly, and we're saving money by moving it here. So we're passing the savings on to you. Worldviewstore.com. Joining me now is Dr. Peter Breggin. Here we go. Let's talk about this. Have you seen this? It's all over social media. Maybe you don't want to see it. Watch. Naked woman stabs, bites victim at Dallas-Fort Worth airport on camera. We're going to have to scramble it. But this woman took her clothes off, is running through the airport and spraying water bottles everywhere and throwing her phone at a big old flat screen television. Now, this is newsworthy because this is becoming a trend. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but all over social media, when we look for news, we're constantly seeing women, and now we've seen a guy as well recently, but a lot of women stripping off their clothes and having what looked like manic meltdowns in the airport or on the airplane. This woman reportedly admitted she had skipped her medication that day, according to this report. Told officers she wanted to be with the flowers and believed she was in a forest when she was handcuffed. She also claimed she was going to heaven and had to come from hell. And she apparently, again, had skipped her medication for the day. However, authorities did not disclose the type of meds she was prescribed. She was initially placed on a mental health hold and now faces charges of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. All right, let's see if we can show the more family-friendly version. Here we go. Watch this, guys.
No way. got action, people. Oh, she up. Oh, y'all just gonna let her do that?
Wow, that's so disturbing on so many levels. But this again is a trend. Okay, let me show you another one. This one, okay, this is a Southwest Airlines flight forced to return to the gate earlier this week after a naked woman began screaming. This one's also scrambled. This happened on I guess around March 8th.
Oh. What is she?
Can you imagine? Can you imagine being on this flight? And people are all filming it, of course. And she went running up and down the aisles naked. Okay? Up and down the aisles naked. Some kind of obviously manic episode. Again, this is not a one-off. Okay? Here's another lady. Here we go.
Sorry, everybody. Are you serious? I'm funny. Okay, let me I don't give up.
Okay, we'll stop it right there because I don't want all that cussing on the network. Hopefully we didn't get any of that on there. Again, I have all kinds of, well, I shouldn't say all kinds. I got another couple I could show you, but I'll spare the videos because I think we get the idea. This is becoming a common theme. Why? Now, I'm not a doctor. We're going to go to the doctor, Dr. Peter Breggin. But remember Dr. Thorpe and Dr. Thorpe doing a study, and I think Dr. Breggin was involved, showing that a lot of these people that have had the shots and multiple boosters are starting to show signs of not being able to connect reason, logic, and context. Some of them are having suicidal thoughts, depression, psychotic behaviors. I'm not saying that's what this is, but they did a study. We'll ask Dr. Breggin about it. But are we seeing an increase also of people who, well, as that girl, according to the article, missed her meds that day? Joining me now is world-renowned psychiatrist and New York Times bestseller, Dr. Peter Breggin. Welcome back, Dr. Breggin. Thanks for being with us.
Really good to see you.
What do you make of these videos?
Well, you nailed what they are. They're manic episodes, and they are the result, most likely, first of women getting all these antidepressants, and also of the COVID vaccines, which are not vaccines, they're jabs that send the spike protein of COVID across our blood-brain barrier to cause hemorrhages, small, tiny hemorrhages in your brain that won't even be picked up on an MRI necessarily or on anything else. So we've got two causes at least, but then we can look at the biggest picture, which is the general poisoning of our population, which Bobby Kennedy is talking about as a Secretary of HHS now. I see this frequently, believe it or not, in minor forms in my practice as a psychiatrist over the years. And people really I do not believe they have volition, that these people have lost volition. Maybe a very, very big shock, like a burning building, they might get enough sense to run out of, but it would take something really large to disrupt that behavior. As you saw a policeman trying to disrupt some behavior, he managed to get her away from one place, she went to another place. And this is very characteristic of a psychotic, that is a loss of reality, that is an extreme psychiatric reaction, and one that is characterized by racing thoughts, racing thinking, grandiose, wild ideas, frequently aggression, especially frequently aggression if there's thwarting of the person, so that policeman was very wise about not getting involved any physical restraint on her till he had many more people to help and then could possibly calm her down. This used to happen very few times. When I was in my training, we might see one person like this a year. And now, of course, they Well, you don't know, of course, but now up to a third of admissions to hospitals could be going through, quote, bipolar disorder, mixed episodes of mania, of getting high and way out of control and godlike, I can do anything. And then sometimes often alternating with depression. But it's almost always caused nowadays by the antidepressants, sometimes the stimulant drugs, and sometimes street drugs, including many of them that have stimulants in them, but more and more, including from James Thorpe's research. I'm one of the authors, he's senior author, in which he went and examined all the reports over a period of time to the CDC from the COVID shots, and compared to the other vaccines that have been used for decades, and compared to the flu vaccine, much higher psychiatric events taking place. And among those events, you get mania and bipolar, as well as a number of other things.
Wow.
I would say,
by the way, just so that people don't think we're picking on the women, the New York Post reported on a guy back in February of 2024 naked in the Florida airport. Okay? And again, there's a guy, I'm not going to go up show you more because the guy is naked and I don't want to see his rear end. But there was a naked guy in 2016 in the Nashville airport. Why do they go to taking their clothes off?
I don't have a specific answer, but I can tell you that it's common for people who are going through a manic episode, as I said, usually antidepressant induced, to take their clothes off and go out in the street. And that's how usually often their episode is ended, by a policeman coming and, but eventually several people putting her into a car. And it's mostly women, because predominantly women are the ones who are taking the antidepressants. Used to be very few men, but now that they're getting so popular, that is not because they're wonderful, but people are getting hooked on them, increasingly hooked on them, more and more men too. What the antidepressants do, which is very insidious, and I warned about this all over the country in the early 1990s. And then that's when they got direct-to-consumer advertising, and I eventually got bumped off of all the shows.
Wait a minute. I want to stop you right there. You got bumped off all the shows because these drug companies got permission to advertise on TV. They then bumped you off the shows because the networks are getting their money from the pharmaceutical companies.
Exactly.
And so therefore they can't say anything bad about the pharmaceuticals, so they therefore can't interview you. When they weren't getting paid, they would have you on. So basically, we now again, more proof that most of the media outlets are just paid shells. They're paid propagandists for whoever, they dance to the tune of whoever's paying the piper.
That's right. And on at least two occasions back in the 90s, significant people agreed with me, in the research community and said, maybe some of the violence we're seeing is from the antidepressants. Well-known people, they're still well-known, but they never again said that on television.
Because they'll lose their slots on TV.
Oh, they lose their jobs in the government, too. They'll lose everything. They go for everything. The drug companies are so tight with the deep state, so tight with the globalists. There's no more global organization than the pharmaceutical industry. So once you get into the pharmaceutical industry, you get into all the evil of the empires, you get into all the evil of the globalists. And that's how Ginger and I were able to dive in so deeply behind COVID-19, because we were aware of the drug companies being so globalist, but we had no idea of the extent of the globalism until we started researching it a few years ago.
So before we move to a new article by you as well, in Ginger, what is the solution here for the fact that we're seeing, by the way, if we're seeing this many manic meltdowns in public in a very short period of time, this means that this is happening a lot in other places where people don't have cameras. It's home.
Listen, it happens in my practice, which is now, a telephone practice, but video practice. Even there, I'm seeing people having manic problems many times a year. And I'm able to say, well, let's bring your husband in, or let's bring your wife in, or your son in, whoever is your backup person. And I start to, I work to calm the person down. And that can be done early on because it is a human reaction.
How do you calm them down?
Well, the first thing I say is, hey, remember I told you that coming off the meds, you might get a little high, you might start doing some things, and I'm a little concerned about you, and I think maybe what we just talked about is an indication from the drugs. Well, I don't think so, the person might say, and I might say, and when was the last time you talked to me in that tone of voice? This is not the real you. Come on, just get in touch with me and get in touch with your husband. Remember, we care about you. I just try to do a good job talking the person down, calming them down. No force, no counter-irritability. The more the person's upset, the more I'm not. And that is a key in all emergencies. The more somebody's upset, the less you want to be. You want to, even if you're in a prize fight, you want to be the one who's not out of control. So, and that helps people. My colleagues don't know that because they just lock them up. Or they double the drug, they give them a new drug. They don't know that you can actually talk to people who are psychotic. But once you see the person running through the streets and things like that, I mean, I remember one terrible case where years and years ago, a man came into my office and I tried to talk him down. I barely knew him. And he said, what are you talking about? Those are my diplomas on the wall, not yours. And out he went. And he unfortunately ran in the streets. I don't know how much clothing he took off, and he ended up in a hospital. And so this is a very tough situation for people. And the bad news is that what it does is that these people end up in emergency rooms, and then they get drugs they especially didn't need. They now get antipsychotics on top of their antidepressants.
Wow.
And I'll see these people years later, and if possible, I will try to help them come off if they have the proper family support, but it's hard to do that long distance. But when a person starts to have a manic episode, even in your own family, if you just get them back in touch with you, remind them that they loved you yesterday, remind them that no, they've never spent $1,000 before on 3 cases or 4 cases or whatever of something they don't need, and try to reason with them on the basis of that you care about them and they care about you, and remind them. Most of my clients, especially nowadays, because they come from the health freedom movement, the freedom movement, believe in God, remind a person that God's there and, wants to help you calm down. So,
if you have a book, what book would you recommend of yours?
On this subject of the drugs, Medication Madness.
You find it at Amazon, right?
Yeah. Yes, and more people are buying it. And then another one, which is very specific about this, and both these are for the lay public. One of my favorite books, it's The Heart of Being Helpful. It describes how you develop a healing aura, a healing presence. If aura is a little too 60s for you, just a healing presence so that people can feel, hey, everything's okay. Because when somebody comes to you in deep emotional distress, the last thing you want to do is go into deep emotional distress. And I think most psychiatrists do that. They get into emotional distress. They think, oh my God, what's going to happen now? Or what was that drug that was last recommended? Or whatever goes through their minds. It's not, I'm not going to have an emergency. This is my patient's emergency. I'll tell them there is no emergency. And that's another thing you can do with this situation. And similarly with suicidal people, you can say there's no emergency. We're going to talk and you're going to find out there's no emergency. I know your wife just left you. Yes, that's a kind of an emergency, but it's not a lethal one. We'll work on it. We'll talk about it. By the way, is she in touch with you? Yeah, she's talking to me still. Okay, let's work on that. In other words, you help the person not have an emergency. Very key, and I don't think anybody even teaches this in psychotherapy.
Wow.
I mean, right now, the health professions are so cockeyed. What the therapist tends to do when something like this happens. In fact, now it feels ethically required to do, but it's not ethics. They get in touch with the psychiatrist or send the person to a psychiatrist so they can get drugged. They don't even know human beings can deal with these things as human beings face to face if they're caring, if they're courteous, if they're kind, if they're not know-it-all, if they're just trying to lend a hand to somebody who is very upset and frightened and scared.
Look at these books. Like, here's one by Dr. Breggin, the antidepressant fact book. What your doctor won't tell you about Prozac, Zoloft, Paxil, Celexa, and Luvox. I haven't even heard of a couple of those. You've got the other ones.
They're all SSRI antidepressants, and they are just really distressing people. Lexapro's another new one. They're really people. I didn't mention this. People can't stop them often by themselves because they go into withdrawal and they have a terrible time, and they think they can't do without the drug, but that's a lie. They're having withdrawal.
Well, here, you got one right here on that. Psychiatric drug withdrawal. A guide for prescribers, therapists, patients, and their families.
That's the best book for getting help and coming off of these drugs. Here's how bad it is, Brandon. No other psychiatrist has written a book on how to come off psych drugs. They don't want you to. You know, it's just like the food industry. The food industry makes you sick, keeps you addicted to drugs. I'm very sad to say that's psychiatry does it even worse. They give you things that don't help you, but they get you feeling you must have them because when you stop them, you suffer.
Yeah. I want to go to Worldview Tube real quick, guys, here. You don't have to show it. Let's see here. Dr. Peter Breggin. I just want to put your name in. I want to see how long have I been interviewing you. If I can't find it.
Oh my gosh.
If I can't find it, I'll have Logan look. But I've been interviewing you.
I'm guessing 90s.
Yeah, a long time. I've been interviewing Dr. Peter Breggin a very long time. I don't know if it's going to show up here, Logan, or not, how long I've been interviewing him. But it goes back. I found one there that's 2018. Here's one 2013. So I don't know if it goes back further than that. But I've been interviewing you a very long time. That's for sure. Folks, by the way, that's one of the benefits of the vault. Because the things that Dr. Breggin was talking to me about in 2013, I'm just going to pull this one up because I have it here, in the vault. Let's see, what were we talking about? How to get people off psychotropic drugs, the dangers of psychotropic drugs. Yeah, so I mean, going all the way back to 2013. So that's all in the vault. All right, let's switch real quick. And by the way, go to Amazon. Let me just go back here real quick to Amazon and just show you the string of his books, all right? He has so many of them. Just type in Dr. Peter Breggin into the search box for Amazon, and you'll find he's got so many books, and I don't even think this is all of them. But there you go. There's a lot of books here. Very prolific writer. I mean, we're still scrolling, folks. We're still scrolling. So there you go. Check it out, Dr. Peter Breggin. All right, let's flip to an article you and Ginger have written. Here it is. Patriots in the Belly of the Beast. America First Against Four Empires. Tell me about this, please.
Well, it's the first thing that's really a new advance on our big book. You know, you always promote that big book, COVID-19 and the Global Predators, We Are the Prey. And the one theme that I was working on in that book and did not elaborate on is that the global predators are largely organized in empires. And people are not allowed to think about empires nowadays any more than they are about conspiracies. Yet for people to get to the top of the human pyramid, bashing everybody beneath them, they have to conspire mightily, and they end up building, depending on their strength, a tribe, a nation, a kingdom, and eventually an empire. And the U.S. originally was the only exception to this, in that it was a large government that said our goal is not to build an authority over you. You are not subjects. Our goal is to protect us, all of us. We're all in this together, and we are for liberty, and we have a constitution. That's why we're called a constitutional republic, not a pure democracy. Democracy doesn't necessarily guarantee you be safe from the crowd or the leader of the democracy. We're actually a republic or a constitutional democracy where freedom is the central theme, even ahead of democracy. Freedom. So there are things you just can't do to other people in this country. They're against the law. The government can't do them. Supreme Court can't do them. There's a Bill of Rights saying they can't do them. Now, we were the first country to ever do that, and we were immediately attacked, of course, by Great Britain. And then the only reason France helped us, because they're another nasty empire, was to help defeat Britain. There were empires all around us. The Dutch helped us with money, but only because they wanted to defeat they were an empire. We wanted to defeat the British Empire. And then there was the War of 1812, where England attacked again. Empires have always been against our constitutional republic. And then I'll say in a word that after World War II, we were so powerful, we became an empire. This confuses people. We developed hundreds of military bases around the world. We built some. We took over some islands. We didn't take up huge amounts of land. Took over some islands, put military bases on them. Started attacking people. I mean, war under every single president until Trump. Trump's the first president since World War II. I think it didn't start another war. And we went into inflation, we went into the wars, we went into overspending, we became oppressive, but it failed. Our empire really got weak. We spent too much money, we had too many wars, we had too much inflation, we disillusioned too many people. And that's when we began to be taken over by the Western global empire. And that's the belly of the beast we're in now. And it was Biden's America. Biden is a globalist.
Yes.
Pretty much every president since George Washington became more and more of a globalist. George Washington's amazing farewell address at the end of his 8 years says, releasing this with caution and care, I have the most important thing to tell you. Don't get into entangling alliances. Don't even make foreign friends, because they'll be your enemies or they'll make enemies for you. Build our own constitutional country without these involvements. And until Donald Trump came along and gave his amazing, I hadn't thought about bringing this up, 2019 address to the UN, where he said to the nations of the UN, stop your globalism, build your sovereignty. No other president said it like that. Not even Ronnie made that so clear. So this is an amazing thing people really need to know when they're freaking out about Donald Trump. I mean, he actually is the only one to have followed up on Washington's warnings. We got the Monroe Doctrine and other things along the way saying, stay out of our lands, South America. But the person who laid it on the line was George Washington with great caution and care. And then Donald Trump laid it out in his address, first address to the UN, and he laid it out, as he does in his political things in a phrase or two. No, I'm not a globalist. I'm not in favor of the Koch family or supporting the rich Republicans. I'm for national sovereignty. You might say it that big and maybe no more. But the speech, obviously, he had a lot of help with the speech. That's what they do. It's a magnificent defense of national sovereignty.
Wow.
So this is where we are now. And what I want people to know is that you will understand what's going on in the world. At first you think these are global predators, they're heartless, nasty, angry human beings, these people like Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab and the heads of NATO and the heads of the EU. And, God, we got a real dizzy of a one, Bill, what to call him, who just came in replacing Trudeau in Canada. He looks like he's really right out of the WEF. So
Mark Carney.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we've got all this going on, But now think beyond just America isn't now an empire. America, the empire, which now is the Western global empire, used the United States to drain our country by giving hundreds of billions of dollars in a Ukrainian war.
Yes.
You can understand that only in that Biden's doing the bidding of NATO and EU and Great Britain. He's not doing the bidding of hardly anybody in America, except a few guys, maybe Bill Gates or, a few other real nasty Americans, Biden and so on. So you can understand that war as aimed at taking billions of dollars from America to weaken America within the belly of the beast, within the Western global empire, so we won't block the global empire. We have to be flattened. That's why they bring in all the illegals, not just to get votes for the left wing someday. They bring them in because they don't understand the democracy at all, and they won't necessarily know what the principles of sovereignty are, and they'll just become poor workers in the global system. That's why the Kochs want the open borders. They're supposedly libertarians, they're supposedly Republicans, but they're just globalists. They all want to sop the money up. The money disappears, and then it goes back into fabulously wealthy people, corrupt in the Ukraine, people who are part of NATO, people who, some of our weapons are going to Mexico that have been found that far diverted. And then it goes into the military-industrial complex and the banking system. So we are just feeding Western global empire. And that's why it's so compulsive. Now, why are we attacking Russia? Because it's the next global empire I'll talk about. It comes from a long history of empires. It's called the Russian, what is it? The Russian Foundation?
Federation? Russian Federation?
Federation. You're so on top of things, my man. The Russian, you make it easy for this old guy. The Russian Federation, and they are an empire unto themselves. And what do I mean by that? I mean they lust to control as much territory as possible. Putin may not have a quick shot at being the head of all empires and rule the world, but he's got a shot at least getting back the USSR and getting bigger and bigger. So he's another global empire. And then next door to him, and butting on him, of course, is us, the empire, the world global empire, the Western one. But on his other side is the Eastern Chinese global empire. So he's surrounded by global empires. And by the way, you might think the Russians are communists. No, they're not. They're not. They're just gangsters and patriots. You want to know them, who they are? They're not dominantly run by Christians. They're certainly not run by Jews. Their identity is with Russia and with being gangsters, getting everything they can. That's who they are.
And then you've got the Islamic Empire, the Caliphate.
And people don't even realize. I mean, the Caliphate has so many nations in it. It is one of the largest land masses in the world. But in the past, and people don't know this, in the past, the Caliphate for a time was the largest empire in the world, and it was squeezing Germany from the east and the west so that Europe was almost gone until the fight started back and pushed them back. And by the time America is explored by the Spanish, it's because the Spanish have driven out the Caliphate from Spain. And boy, they're really ready then for the next empire, which is the Mayan Empire, I think, that they go after. So it's all about empires, and they don't want you to know that. And the Caliphate, supposedly the Caliphate was closed down back, it was 1970s or something, by the head of the Turks. The Turks. He thought he was the head of the Caliphate, so he said there is no more. I'm secular. But the guys who are trying to destroy Israel, they all think they're fighting for the caliphate. They want to go and clear out the world of Israel.
That's exactly right.
And take over as a caliphate. And they want to do it in Europe, and they want to do it in America. They're setting up Sharia law in America, in Great Britain, in Europe. And, not facetiously, some of the leaders have said, and by the way, we're not going to have to fire a shot because we're reproducing in Europe so much faster than Europeans are. We're just going to take over.
Wow. The article is right here. I wish we could keep this going. I wish I wasn't pressed for time because this is an amazing conversation. But folks, patriots in the belly of the beast, America first against 4 empires. Now, this is a lengthy article, but you should read it because, again, it's giving you history and information that you're just not going to get. And it's written by my friends Peter and Ginger Breggin, and you can get it at Ginger Breggin, Breggin, gingerbreggin.substack.com. Ginger Breggin, Ginger, Breggin, Breggin, gingerbreggin.substack.com. Check it out there, folks, and you'll learn something. I promise you that. And then check out his books on Amazon. Dr. Breggin, as always, love having you on. Thanks for your time tonight.
Thank you for letting me speak to the world about this. You're one of the few truly honorable and so informed people. You were on this stuff while I was still just thinking about the pharmaceutical industry. This is a great man, folks.
You're very kind. Thank you. And greet Ginger for us.
Yes.
Dr. Peter Breggin checking in. Check out the article by both of them there. Patriots in the belly of the beast, America first against 4 empires. Joining me now is Tina Blanco with WorldviewTalk.com. Hey, can we first go to the Dolly cam? Because she's sitting up tonight. She's not asleep right yet. She just yawned, but for the moment, she's awake. She's a little cut off there. There we go. You're wide awake right now. Yep, you're looking at yourself on the 85-inch flat screen TV across the room, aren't you? What a beautiful dog, she's thinking in her head. That is a gorgeous dog. You really like looking at yourself, don't you? Yeah, you do. Oh, yeah. You're thinking about barking at yourself, aren't you? There you go. That's our studio dog, Dolly, for those who don't know. She's 10 months old. Should be a year, I think May 16th. Should be a year old, May 16th. There you go. I thought I'd show you when she's not asleep because that's probably about to end in a minute. Yeah, because she's usually asleep on the pillow bed there. She's awake tonight. All right, joining me now, that's a hard act to follow, but joining me now is Tina. Hey, how you doing, Tina?
I'm doing good. Dolly, you look so sweet.
She is sweet.
I wish I was there.
Do you have dogs?
I used to. My dog left to be with Jesus, and it's going to be waiting for me. But yeah.
I hope that's the case because I got a bunch of labs. I told my wife the other night, that would be so awesome to have all my labs at one time. So I'm kind of counting on that too. Hey, there are horses in heaven because we come riding back on horses. So I'm hoping my labs I'm going to get my labs, but we'll see what happens.
Well, can I tell you how your pets, you will be able to call them into coming back to you when you're in heaven.
I hope so.
So in order for them to make it, you have to make it. So
That's right.
So that you can call all of your pets that you've lost. And I had a skipper key.
Oh, really? All right.
Yeah.
Well, you say Dolly looks sweet. She is sweet. She is. All my labs have been sweet, but this one has been particularly, my wife says often since we've gotten her, and more so in the last few weeks, this is the most affectionate lab I've ever had, which is really saying something because all my labs are affectionate. Delta was really affectionate. This dog here is, she demands to cuddle up real close at night. I mean, like, a lot of my dogs slept at the foot of the bed. This one really wants to sleep right in between Melissa and I, which is driving Melissa crazy because she likes to stretch out at night. And when she does, she puts her sharp claws against Melissa's back. And Melissa's like, why does she sleep with her claws toward me? Why does she sleep with her back to me and her claws out toward you? I'm like, I don't know, but you'll have to take it up with her. But she's like, can we please teach her to sleep at the foot of the bed? But she won't have it. We put her down there, and then we fall asleep. She slips back up. So she's very affectionate. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
All right.
That's so sweet.
What's the latest going on at Worldview Talk?
Well, I mean, the latest thing, I think, and I'm not sure if you're familiar. I think you are. We also have Connect the Mobile. and that's
Yes.
secured mobile, right? So what's happened in the past, week or so, and with this leak with this Signal app, I think if our government had our connect to mobile phones, I think this leak most likely wouldn't have had, because you wouldn't have to use Signal. Our phones are secured. Let me show you. And I think you have one of these. This is called a Binion phone. It's a smartphone that you can use, but it's de-Googled, so it doesn't have Google. It doesn't have any of the crazy apps. Plus, Brandon, I don't know if you know this, and I don't know if you've set yours up already, but you can set your text messages to be automatically deleted within 5 seconds of them being looked at. So basically, that person that took a screenshot, the reporter that took a screenshot, by the way, that really blows my mind that a reporter did that, by the way, and got away with it. And but the reporter that took a screenshot wouldn't have had the opportunity to take a screenshot of this, because all the messages would have been automatically deleted after read. So this phone is so secured. There is no one can read your messages other than the person that you're sending them to. There's no big tech or Google or anyone. Plus, so there's no storage. So Connect to Mobile stores nothing. We don't even have storage. So everything that is stored is going to be what you store on your phone. If you don't store it on your phone, it is gone forever. So basically, and nobody's going to look at your pictures other than, you or whoever you send them to. This phone is very, very secured, and it is about $1,400 for this phone. We do have other secured mobile phones that are free, but they do have the Google and other apps in them. But this one has absolutely nothing. And if you don't download Google or other apps, then it stays secure. But once you start downloading some of the other apps, then you're going to lose some security. But one of the most secured call is from Binion Phone to Binion Phone, that's the name of the brand. And by the way, I just also want to mention that it is not made in China. This phone is very secured, and it is made in Switzerland. But yeah, so that would be on phone123.com. I'm not sure how it's set up with you, but if people call and they mentioned your name, and we can give them a discount.
Wow. Well, so you're telling me that if the Secretary of Defense and others had those phones right there, even if that guy had gotten into the chat, these texts would start being deleted within 5 seconds of them being read.
Yeah, not even being read. Once you open it, you have 5 seconds, and then the messages are deleted. So he wouldn't have had enough time to react and to take a screenshot. And plus, it would have been harder for them to be added accidentally to this phone, because it is so easy to add people accidentally. I think we've all done it. This is the mistake I've made with an Apple phone or any other phone, because what people have done in the past with me is they've changed their names, and then when I go to hit update, it automatically changes their name in my phone book. So then when I go look at the name that I know them by, and I can't find them in my phone book, because somehow, some way, I have, whenever you hit update and it comes up every time you talk to someone, if they made an update on their phone, like I can make my name Jennifer, and then when you get a message from me or get a call from me, it's going to pop up and it says update, and if you hit update, it is going to change my name in your phone book as whatever I commanded it to. So I don't know how this reporter got in. I'm sure it's under investigation, but I'm pretty certain something similar had happened to it. So we'll find out. There is an investigation being done, but we'll find out. But with this phone, you can't do that. This is the most secured phone that you can possibly get. And it is called Binion Phone. And it's, if you want security, if you don't want people to listen in on your call, you don't want people to read your text messages or view your pictures, with Apple, you get these movies that are made for you every month or every other month, or as often as you look at them, and you're like, oh, look at that, Apple just made me a movie using my pictures. And it's like, no, Apple is going through your pictures. Are you okay with that? Somebody, I don't know if it's Apple, someone is looking at your pictures.
Are they downloading? Are they downloading your pictures?
Well, you know, you see a lot of people, and if you're not familiar with it, a lot of the audience are. When you open your smartphone, you see, hey, there's a movie made, and then you click on it and you watch, and they automatically, and it doesn't cost you anything. They just do it out of their own good heart, I guess. They just look at your photos and they make you a movie out of your own photos, and they send it to you. So the bottom line is somebody is sitting there looking at your pictures, and that's not okay with me.
No, that's not. Me. No, that's
because,
not.
Yeah, because we have, look, I have, pictures, driver's license or passport or other things that I have on my phone, on my photos, and I don't want people to be looking at my photos, but they do. But if you have this phone, you don't have to worry. Nobody can see. The only thing that's ever is anywhere is kept is on your phone. Whatever you delete here is gone forever. And
okay, so they can get that at worldviewtalk.com. I just want to show people real quick before I go to another topic related to Vivek Ramaswamy and power outages and the power grid. I'm trying to find, let's go back to Worldview Talk real quick here. Let me go there. There we go. So worldviewtalk.com. Take a look here. If you just go to Worldview Talk, top of the page, secure mobile communications, connect to mobile right there. That's what you're talking about. Or you can call 1-866-738-3224 to find out about the phone that does not store your data. They don't store your data. So if the government comes knocking, they're like, I'm sorry, we don't have it. Because you guys
we don't have storage. We don't keep anything. Whatever you delete on your phone, it is gone forever. And the other thing that I do want to talk about that's been really, really popular and for whatever reason has been the Starlink, Brandon. The Starlink, we have a great offer. We give our Starlinks. We have a Starlink that we do give for free. I think this one is a Starlink Mini. It's a little bit smaller, and it weighs about 2 pounds. And this one, I think it's around $200, but the service is the same as you can get with Starlink. But the difference is, and the reason why a lot of people are signing up with us instead of going direct with Starlink, is that, especially businesses, there's actually a couple of reasons. It's because you have a live person, live tech support, which Starlink doesn't offer, and you also can pay with any form of payment. With Starlink, you can only pay with a credit card, but we accept wires. That's why a lot of companies are switching to us. We accept wires, check, PayPal, whatever, however you're comfortable with paying. But yeah, you can get this Starlink. It's I think it's only $200. Normally it's like $499, and then you just sign up on a service for 24 months. This thing is so light; it only weighs 2 pounds. With a battery and a solar panel and a backpack, you're under 10 pounds, and now you've got internet from anywhere on Earth. So you can literally, I can do this podcast from like the middle of the desert.
So it's strong enough you can even do conference calls, Zoom calls.
Yeah, you can do streaming. No, you could do everything. Everything that you could do in your office, you could do with this little thing. It's got a stand in the back. You just take it, you set it outside, and then you could be within hundreds of feet of it and have connection. You don't.
It's wireless. Wireless.
It's wireless. Yeah, you could do wireless. You can plug it in if you're home. So if you're home, you can plug it in and then unplug it. One of the other reasons why a lot of people are switching to this is because when they're not using it, they unplug it so that they're not getting the EMF.
Oh yeah,
from the internet.
Yeah.
And then why should you be exposed to EMF when you're not using it?
Exactly.
At night when you're sleeping, get some detox from the electromagnetic field.
Let's go to critical infrastructure. Here is Vivek Ramaswamy. He's running for governor in Ohio. Listen to what he's saying about what's coming for our power grid.
I'm going to tell you, this is top of my mind as your next governor, is we face a real risk that our electric grid in this state isn't ready for what's actually coming. Right now, electricity costs have already doubled over the course of the last 10 years. They're about to quadruple over the next 10 years and face rolling power outages in our state like they have in California unless we do something about it. We've got AI data centers moving to our state. That's a good thing. It's a good thing. I want the sectors of the future to come here. But that will make a level of demand on our electric grid of a kind that we have not seen in the history of our state, coming at exactly the time, and you here in Jefferson County understand this, right at a time when we've also cut off and reduced the supply of baseload power generation. Shutting down coal plants that on my watch would have remained open, I'll promise you that. And the few that still remain open aren't going to shutter on my watch. I'm going to tell you.
Wow, there you go. So these data centers are popping up everywhere. We have Elon Musk, his whole Colossus Grok system is built just a few miles from where I'm sitting, putting in 2 million chips. It's going to take 2,098 gallons of water a minute to cool. We already had the power flicker here several times last fall when he was getting it up and going. Local official told me, you know why the power's flickering, don't you? And I said, well, I'm going to guess it's Elon Musk's new AI data center over there at the Electrolux building, the old Electrolux building. He said, yep, that's right. So we know it's pulling on the power, and this is now becoming a thing that's all over the country. Tell us about how you can maybe offer a solution to our folks, whether it's blizzards, tornadoes. We just had a bunch of tornadoes rip through the country, 40 some odd people killed, power down. Not uncommon here in the mid-south where I live. Straight line winds, take the power down for a couple of days at a crack. Just talked to someone else whose power was out for a couple of days. And it's weird because it can happen in my town, and it's only one small area of the town that goes down. I didn't even know. I was like, you were down for a couple of days? I only live a few miles from you in the same town. We were fine. So talk to us about the power grid and what you can do, because our power grid is becoming more and more vulnerable, particularly as these data centers open up all over the country.
Right. So, I have an office in California, and some of my employees are like, yeah, I can't work from home because this is during the summer because we have rolling blackout. And then I'm like, you're okay with that? They're so used to it that they are okay with it.
How often are we talking? How often are we talking about a rolling blackout?
Usually the blackouts are timed, like for like 2 hours a day during the heat. Usually it happens about end of July, maybe all of August and September. But the fact that it's happening at all, it could go from just a couple hours to a couple days.
So what they do is they say, okay, we're going to take this part of the grid down. You guys over here in Santa Barbara are going to be without power. Okay, now while we do that, that'll take a load off. Now someone else is going to get 2 hours off the grid. Someone else is going to, so they just stagger who's off the grid because they only have so much energy they can send out. So they just choose who doesn't have power right now and then someone else gets a 2 hour turn. Kind of like Duck, Duck, Goose, right?
Yeah. But, they're so used to it here. And that's just the beginning. As you know, this is just to get people used to having that. Pretty soon it's going to be days and then maybe a lot longer based on, all of the things that he just mentioned. Our grid can't handle it all. Plus, our grid is very, very fragile, right?
Oh, too.
The bad guys, if they want to attack us, they're going to attack our grid. They're going to attack our cell towers, right? That's the reason why we talk about satellite phones. Nobody can attack that. And then also we tell people to get generator and solar panel, because when these rolling blackouts come, then you could use or if the grid goes down with a rolling blackout, it's usually just a couple of hours, and it's usually during the day during the peak time. So yeah, if you have a generator and a solar panel, then you don't have to worry, because now you've got a backup and you can always revert to your generator and then have especially like in California and other places where you have nothing but sun during the summer. You can get the energy to charge up your generator, and then you have lights, air condition. You definitely need air condition. You've got whatever it is that you need. You can power your refrigerator, any household appliances that you want to plug into it during the night or even during the day. So we have them, and you could see they start out at around $800, for small products that you can charge, that you can plug in, all the way in up to like about $9,000. You can power your whole house.
Wow.
And everything in it if there is an electricity, if the electricity went down. And these things can go on for days and days and days. It's not just a one-off. But having that backup it's just as important as having, food, a backup, a communication backup, electricity backup is very, very important, Brandon.
Yeah, indeed it is. Worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com. There it is. Check out, there's all about the phones we talked about. There's about the generators. They're all there. Worldviewtalk.com. You're probably going to use that 866 number just to make sure you get everything you need when it comes to the generators. So use that number to ask their friendly reps about these generators. Mention Brandon House, Worldview Tube. They know who we are. 1-866-738-3224. 1-866-738-3224. Is that it?
They get 10% off if they mention you.
Really? Look at that. 10% off if they mention me. All right, there you go. Well, as always, thank you, Tina.
Thank you so much.
Hey,
Take
Tina,
care and God bless.
Hey, let's go to the dolly cam. We started out with the dolly cam.
Okay.
Let's end with the dolly cam. See, now you know why we had to show her while she was awake.
Oh, so adorable.
Because the audience doesn't get to see her awake much. She comes in here and goes to sleep. And just so the audience knows, she runs around outside. She plays. She actually fell in the pond today. I don't know if she fell in. I shouldn't say that. She jumped in. My wife said she jumped in the koi pond. So she jumped in the koi pond all the way in, and she runs around the yard, plays tennis with the tennis ball, and, does whatever she does all day. In and out, in and out, in and out. And now she comes in here and crashes. So there you go. All right. We've come full circle now, Tina. Started out with the dog and ended with the dog. So there you go.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bless.
You too. Tina checking in, folks. Worldviewtalk.com. Check it all out right there. Worldviewtalk.com. All right, folks. What a great night that was. A lot of great information, right? And again, please consider going to worldviewtube.com/sponsors right now, supporting us by doing business with all these wonderful, wonderful companies. Worldviewtube.com/sponsors. Okay, roll the music. We'll call it a night. Oh, don't forget to go to worldviewstore.com and get the free business cards, pack of 20. We've now sent out over 9,000 of these. Over 9,000 business cards. They're free. Just go to worldviewstore.com. Look who got up. Look who woke up and decided to come on over. Well, welcome to you. Worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. What are you pawing at? You want those, don't you? I don't know why you're so obsessed with these business cards, but you are. Get your pack of 20 business cards right now. Worldview, claws are sharp. Worldviewstore.com, worldviewstore.com. May God save America. Take care.
Now, VCY America presents Worldview Radio with Brandon House.
All right, welcome. Glad you guys are with us. What is today? March 27th, 2025. So we got a lot to get to today related to some things. Well, let's just tell you what they're related to. National Public Radio, National Public Television. There was a hearing yesterday. The CEO was testifying, and a lot of the members of Congress were not impressed. They were not impressed, and they think they should be defunded. Well, we've told you now for how long on this broadcast? They get $500 million a year. $500 million. I said last night on television to my guys in the control room, I was on the air, I said, guys, what would we do? How would we spend $500 million? How would we spend $500 million a year? And one of the guys answered correctly. I think that would be impossible. Yeah. How do you spend $500 million a year on programming? Now, I'm not saying you can't do it, but if you are doing efficient, you're being frugal, you're being conservative in your spending, your budgets, you're being responsible, how do you spend $500 million a year? And then you add all the other money they get from the public. Are they just squirreling it away into a bank account? Apparently they own a bunch of buildings, so that I guess could be one way. $500 million a year. Now, how many of these groups that we now have found out get government money, which we knew about NPR, corporate broadcasting for a long time. But then we find out Reuters, according to numerous reports, the AP, how many of these groups would go belly up if they weren't being funded by the government? You see, Worldview Tube, VCY America, many of us out here in the Christian worldview arena, we actually have to do something, and it's called be needed. Have people want to support us. We don't get government money. We have to present a format and content and news and information that people want to listen to, they want to watch, they want to read, and thus they want to support. How long do you think National Public Radio, National Public Television would last if they had to get rid of all their government funding? I think we're about to find out. Did you know there are a lot of conservative broadcast networks out there that are in the red? A lot. There are a lot of conservative broadcast networks out there that are in the red, that are literally on life support. And then you have these liberal groups, leftist groups, cultural Marxist, globalist, propaganda, news outlets that are just flush with cash. I want to just swerve for 1 minute into what I told you guys weeks ago I thought was coming. Tell me if I didn't tell you guys this before the media now is reporting it. I said, what you bet that this spring, there are a lot of Americans who say, I'm done, I'm out, I'm not paying any more money to the federal government to send it to Gaza for contraceptives, or to National Public Radio, National Public TV, to fund Reuters, to fund AP, to fund all of this leftist stuff, to give it to countries that hate us, terrorist states that hate us. I'm done. Now, I'm not advising you do that, okay? I think that could be very dangerous for some people to do, or for anyone to do. So I'm not encouraging you to do that. I'm going to pay my taxes. In fact, I even overpaid last year, or whatever. Yeah, I guess it was last year. I overpaid. And they had to go and get my money back because we overpaid. Because we're very careful. We dot every I, we cross every T. We're not going to get caught up in that game. And I don't suggest you do either. Pay your taxes. And let's pray and work to change this theft of our money by the federal government for the redistribution of wealth. It's socialism. But I said human nature is such that many Americans, many who are struggling to put new clothes on their children, food on the table, buy health insurance, their homeowners' insurance has gone up by 40% in the last year or so. Everything's going up on them. And then they see how much money they have to pay to the government. And many are going to say, I'm sorry, I'm just not doing it anymore. You know, this is what comes before you have a revolution in a country. Some would say before you have a civil war. I pray we don't have a civil war. That would be horrific for our country. I'd like to see us have a revolution of liberty and freedom, because we have elected officials that believe in liberty and freedom and work to change the laws. But you can see the signs that many Americans are done. You know, I've given you that slogan for years too. When a man has nothing left to lose, he has nothing left to lose. There are many families out there and small business owners, and most of your small businesses are run by families. They can't expand. They can't buy the new equipment. They need to hire more people. They need to just be able to pay the bills of the, as I said, the insurance, the operational cost. And a lot of those small businesses are going to sit down and write a check to the government. Many of them apparently are now deciding they're not going to do it anymore. This is a sign that America is on the verge of something coming. Americans, a percentage of them, are very awake. Now, again, I'm not telling you this to encourage you to not pay your taxes. I would tell you, pay your taxes. Let's see if we can get some legislation that does away with the IRS as we know it. In fact, we have a clip. I don't know if you can find it in there, Logan. We have a clip of